All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're about to get started. If we can find our seats, silence our cell phones, close the back door, side doors, I greatly appreciate it.
Test. Clear. Aye.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is a Municipal Council Caucus meeting. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 4:06 p.m. May I have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Brooks,
Present.
Councilperson Zupa, Councilperson Efros,
Present.
Councilperson Little,
Present.
Council President Pro Temp Gilmore,
Present.
Councilperson Singh,
Present.
Councilperson Griffin,
Present.
and Councilperson Navarro.
Here.
Council President Ridley will be absent for the meeting, so we have 8 council members in attendance at 4:06 p.m. And in accordance with New Jersey laws, pamphlet laws, 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by email or by electronic to the Bergen Record and also the El Specialito. In addition, at the time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, March 20th, 2026 at 9:05 p.m. to the mayor, business administrator, municipal council, and published in the newspaper. So I can certify as our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to our council president pro temp Gilmore.
Thank you, Sean. The first speaker, first presenter, Finance, Kyle.
Good afternoon, Council. I have 3 items for the Finance Department. I will start with 10.1, Resolution 26122. This is a resolution authorizing emergency temporary appropriations for calendar year 2026. This is just an extension of our temporary budget while we continue to work with the state and the mayor's office and the business administrator on putting together a final budget to bring to council for introduction. The total appropriations here will be 423 million, which is 53% of what our prior year final appropriations were. But the idea here is to fund us through the end of June. What we did on the salaries and wages is we took the current projections through the last pay period, projected that out through June. On other expense items for contracts, we did some outreach to department directors to see what they may need to extend existing contracts or come to council for new awards. And on the other end, there are debt service obligations that we need to account for and some statutory obligations as well, such as pension payments and contributions that are due April 1st. So if there's anything particular the council has questions on, there is a memo provided as well, which highlights the methodology that was used by the budget officer in preparing this and some of the contracts that we are requesting funding for. Alternatively, we could provide a list of open contracts so you have a little more context and maybe some other supplemental reports at the request of council.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
Yes, this temporary budget gets used through where, June, what?
The target is to get through June, yeah. And of course, if there's any adjustments that need to be made, we can come back to council before then. If we introduce and adopt the budget sooner than that, then we'll also make sure we capture everything.
Else?
How are the costs for boat payments handled in this?
We have already accounted for that in the initial temporary budget. Police and fire year to date is 5.4 million across the 2 areas for retirements. So that's already accounted for. So what we did is that's not factored into payroll projections because that is a one-time, expense earlier in the year. If there's anything substantial that comes to finance later on and we need to make adjustments, we'll do so.
Which line item is that?
It's within police salary wages and fire salary and wages. Police is 25,240 and fire's 25,265
25,240.
is police, yeah.
That's where the bullet payments are for.
Retirement payments, yeah.
Reverendo?
Done, yeah.
What's the next one, Kyle?
Next item is 10.22, Resolution 26143. This is a resolution authorizing calendar year 2025 appropriation reserve transfers. Statutorily, we're allowed to move reserve funds first 3 months of the year for any surplus funding as a result of operations from the prior year. If there's a need to cover any existing liabilities, big one here is health insurance payments. I just want to note that these payments were made already, and what we're looking to do is bring the account in good standing. If in the mayor's press release on the budget, there was note of some unpaid health insurance invoices from prior years, underfunding in the prior year budgets, which resulted in potential deferred charges. So what we're doing is trying to eliminate that deferred charge for any future budgets and cover the balance as much as possible. And in the event we don't cover an over expenditure, it'll be a deferred charge in either this year or next year's budget, depending on the year that occurs.
Questions? All right, Cal, the last one?
10.26, Resolution 26147. A resolution requesting permission for dedication by rider for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This is a result of an audit finding from 2024 where the city has a reserve for Affordable Housing Trust Fund. It's just of various fees, but what's required to dedicate fees is the council needs to approve a resolution doing so, and we get approval from DCA just so we can have those funds in a dedicated reserve. We already have the reserve set up and funded, and we're just taking proper action in getting council approval for the state can, formally acknowledge that reserve. We could continue to spend down on those funds. This was done in, with the help of the law department and HEDC as well, who do oversee that account.
Questions? Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle. So these are the monies that are included in this money is money that is supposed to go to the division of the Office of the Right to Counsel. Is that right?
I believe so. I don't know every line item in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Some of the fees are, non-redevelopment fees, pilots.
Not to cut you off, but we have the expert here that worked on it. So we have John McKinney from the law department.
The answer is yes.
And so up to 20% of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund money can be used for administrative costs. And within that 20% of administrative costs, there's a certain amount that will go to the Office of the Right to Counsel, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. And just for the record, where we're at, we do not have a current director of the Office of the Right to Counsel. We've put out job description, right? So we're waiting on applicants for that director role. And that director role is currently, if it were to be filled, would be funded by a grant, not these monies yet, because no tranche of these monies has been given to the Office of Right to Counsel yet.
We make a budget appropriation for the director as well, and I believe it's a director and a clerk. So we'll fund it in the annual budget, and in the event we offset it with grant revenue or reserve fund, it'll just be a credit back to the general fund, and it'll be a surplus at the end of the year.
Okay, understood. All right, and then just legally what we passed in the ordinance for the Right to Counsel law, the first tranche of that money needs to come from the development fees through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, that first tranche of money needs to go to the Office of Right to Counsel this year. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so this is 2026 is the deadline for that to come online. Just want to clarify.
Should be available to the office, yes.
Okay,
Anybody else? Any questions?
Yeah, just so for my clarification, so edification. So as the councilman was saying, these affordable housing trust funds, and there's two pots of money of like affordable housing. That's one being those development fees.
There are quite a few line items within the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. There's like I said, non-residential fees, residential fees, pilot portions are due back, other contributions, other charges from community development. I don't know exactly, but yes, there are multiple line items. They're all within the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and they're all maintained in one fund, and they're broken down by line item by fee type or whatever the source of revenue is. So we can provide you an accounting of it, so you see what's available in each bucket, but it's all under the Affordable Housing Trust.
So this resolution applies to both buckets?
Anything under the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, yeah.
And you said you provided us those balances?
I can.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I would request my office can make a note of that.
I would love to see that balance as well.
No
please.
problem.
Thanks.
So Kyle, I just want to make sure I understand this right. So the dedication by rider process is the money that come in for the various things you just talked about. And then subsequently, the council will then vote on the right to counsel budget and then all of the projects that being, I guess, dispersed through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund?
You'll definitely vote on the budget for right to counsel in the general fund. The projects that are run through that, I believe there's a committee or something that should be formed where, I don't know if Peter knows a better explanation, but
Yeah, there's technically supposed to be a committee that would vote on anything related to the fees from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The committee, I believe, was in some form of operation a while ago. They did vote on certain projects, one of them being a Harmony House, that I think you're aware of, Councilman, where it did receive that approval. This is a first step to shoring up the court portion of it, where legally we can have those funds dedicated for this position and can start spending that money. There are some projects that were pre-approved based on the old committee. However, we have to reconstitute that committee with new members for any future spending of projects.
the finance department isn't appropriating any of the funds for anything specific in the budget. That's why we need to do this, because part of the reason you need to do a dedication by riders, you're essentially saying you can't really estimate what's going to come in and what's going to go out. So this gives us the leverage to have it in a reserve, and that reserve will, year over year roll over, and there's not an annual budget that goes to the council from the finance department.
Got you. Okay.
I have two questions, Councilman Gilmore. So for the bucket that the development fees, I understand those dollars had to be approved by court. Could we get the breakdown for how those, and that they were approved already? Is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
We got the court approval for the original spending plan. We're tweaking it at the moment. It's still in conversation with Fair Share Housing Center. That should get wrapped up shortly. As soon as that's done, I'll send you the details on it. But yes, we were approved to collect and spend money out of the fund by the court.
we submitted something to the court saying our spending plan for this.
Correct.
I'd like a copy of that spending plan.
Do you want me to send you a copy of the court order that approved it? It has it attached. I can give you all that documentation.
Yeah, the one that the court approved.
Okay.
That's the document I gave you on.
Gave that one to
So
me?
you know. I
Okay.
have a Copy of it, but if there's any modifications.
Just bring the
since
mic
then-
down and you see.
Sorry, I'm short. If there's any modifications since then, John, you can send it. I sent him the one from the latest one that I had, but that's the document I gave you on Friday.
Okay.
Just as a note, with the when we were going through the process of the spending plan, determining what would be in the spending plan, I had done individual meetings with every council member back then. And I had shared on Friday when I met with Councilman Lavaro, the slides from that meeting. And I realized obviously it would be helpful. I would do those same meetings with all of you. We're no longer setting those same priorities in the spending plan, but it's what informed what's in there. So I'm happy to set up meetings to take you guys through as well the decisions that can be made. And then from this process forward, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund will have to make priority allocations for how that money gets spent in broad buckets. And then they approve individual projects. And yes, Councilman, all those projects come back to the council.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Any additional questions?
Yeah, so let me just see if I'm understanding this correctly. So developers pay into the Affordable Trust Fund, right? And then that money that they pay into the Affordable Trust Fund, there's a percentage of that that goes to right to counsel.
Yes.
So are they paying additional money, or is this the same, are these the same price tags on what they pay for? And then that money comes out?
The developers just pay a percentage of the assessed value into the trust fund based off of the development fees. And then what comes out of the trust fund it's just based off of what's there. So we can use up to 20% towards administrative expenses, which in Ordinance 23-048 had discussed for using towards the right to counsel program.
Okay, so are we raising that percentage?
No, this isn't
it's-
touching the numbers at all. This resolution right here is largely a formality that's required by the state in order to reserve unanticipated funds. Kind of as Kyle was saying earlier, we don't necessarily know how many development fees we're going to collect in a year. So if we're trying to budget off of that on stuff we're going to do outside of or coming from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the state just needs to be aware that we may not get all the money in a projected year. It's anticipated revenues.
Okay.
My final question. I understand that we're attaching a rider. Can you just explain to me? It goes over my head what this rider is telling us.
Yes, essentially, whenever any fees are written into the municipal code, they are due to the general fund unless there's a permitted use outlined otherwise, right? Local ordinance does not supersede state, so the state needs to then, council needs to approve it, state also needs to certify it, and from an accounting perspective, is why I brought it forward is if we don't have the dedication by rider done, in an audit, they may come back and say those funds are due to the general fund, and
I see.
then they're gone, right? Because they'll lapse the fund balance end of the year. So we just want to make sure that anything that the council has dedicated to a specific use remains in that reserve for that purpose and does not eventually get, audited and they say, you don't have a dedication, return it to the general fund, and then you have to start over essentially.
Appreciate your
Yep.
patience. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Next, Health and Human Services, Cohen.
Good afternoon, members of City Council. HHS Food and Nutrition has 4 items for your consideration. Item number 1 is Resolution 26126. Item number 10.5. This is a memorandum of understanding MOU between our Paco lunch site for congregate senior meals and HHS or Jersey City through HHS Food and Nutrition. Basically, this lays out expectations for both sides to provide senior lunch. This is just a renewal of an agreement we've had over the last few years. And let me just give you an overview of the expectations. On our end for HHS Food and Nutrition, program administration, meals, staffing, and nutrition education. The site is expected to be open during hours of operation, 9 to 1, provide adequate space, a meal minimum of 13 meals, program compliance, facilities, recurring expenses, care and maintenance of the facility, installation of special equipment, insurance, food safety compliance furnishing, food service equipment, refrigerator and freezer, storage, additional equipment, special events, and to inform us if there are political events on site.
Questions?
Sorry, stepped away. Did this include the Hoboken?
No, this 10.5, the Paco site for food.
Hoboken for summer meals is, it'll be at the end of this.
No questions.
Sorry,
Uh,
you said political events on site?
If there is a political event on site, we can't serve lunch, so we need to be informed ahead of time. So we need adequate
Yeah,
heads up. on that.
separating. Good. Yeah, that's good.
I'll ask my question now, 'cause, obviously several of the senior buildings are included. Did HHS give any consideration to Grandview Apartments at 222 St. Paul's? There's 275 apartments there, all senior citizens. It's a big
Yeah.
building.
I mean, we base consideration on inquiries, and then we evaluate the number of, we have our requirements for amount of meals, but yes, anything is always on.
So would the building have to reach out to you directly?
Yes.
Anyone else? All right, next one, Cohen.
Okay, the next item is, did I skip one?
10.6.
That's 10.6. Yes, I think I skipped 10.6. Okay, resolution 26127, 10.6. This is the identical language, exactly the same MOU with Grace Church, which we also have. We also serve our congregate lunch.
Okay, 10.6, any questions? Next.
Okay, next is 2612. Question?
Yeah, I think Boyd McGinnis is 6 and 7 is Grace.
Oh,
Community
my
Service
apologies.
Facility.
Yes, Boyd McGinnis is
Yeah.
10.6. So this is for Grace Church, 26128, 10.7.
So those are both the same as the Paco one as well.
Same agreement. We just try to do it annually, again, to just set up expectations on both ends so that we can effectively run the program.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and the final resolution, 26129, item 10.8. This is a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the City of Hoboken Boys and Girls Club to jointly introduce Jersey City Summer Food Service Program. This is an agreement we've had for the previous, I believe, 3 years. It's a site that they don't have a summer food service program there. Part of this agreement is this is all under the grant award, meaning that site is factored in. There is no additional cost to the city. They have their own site monitor that has to be in compliance with the grant, or there's no program there essentially. And we're able to provide that site with summer food.
Hey, Colin, quick question. I know at one point, are we still delivering to Jersey City Boys and Girls Club for the summer program?
I believe as of last year, yes. There'll be an updated list of sites, but last year, yes, they were part of the program.
Okay, so we are, I don't know of the administration, no, there have been some talks of the Boys and Girls Club closing or something. Anyone heard anything about that?
Nothing has been brought to my direct attention.
All right,
Sorry, I don't know if I missed it, but so the Hoboken Boys and Girls Club, we have Jersey City Children.
It's not Jersey City Children. They've reached out to us annually because they don't have a summer food. The previous 3 years, I believe, we have provided them with meals. As that's why we're here as part of this agreement. If we receive approval. Now, again, and this is very important from a budget perspective, from a cost basis, this is factored into our initial award. Last year, all of our food costs were covered by the grant. We don't anticipate anything different this year. Basically, we get an initial award based on the amount of sites we have at that particular point in time, and then we will receive an amendment in late August, which covers our total. So an amended total. That's kind of how this program is built from a grant funding perspective.
Who's the
So-
grant funding from?
The Department of Agriculture.
U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, we'll get it through New Jersey, but yes, the
New Jersey.
trickle down funding, yes.
So when you say it's already accounted for, does that mean when we wrote the initial grant application, we said we're going to be distributing at these sites in Jersey City and in Hoboken?
Yeah, we basically will have an initial group of sites, not a number of, just this site in Hoboken. This is the only site in Hoboken. It's just one site. But yes, basically we'll have an initial grouping of sites at that date, which is very early because usually last year I think we peaked at 68 sites, something in that neighborhood. So the list will grow, and that's why we have the amendment in late August to account for what our total was, and then we receive an award it carries, it's 26, 27, so it'll carry over. It's why I was here last time for summer food, and it essentially makes the program whole.
So, what, if anything, is the reason why Hoboken can't apply on their own?
They don't have a program through Hoboken. That's why they reach out to us.
But they have senior citizens, they have summer camp, they have all that stuff, right?
I mean, I can't speak for their programming per se. I just know they specifically don't have a summer food program that would provide meals for the Boys and Girls Club. And that's why they reach out to us annually for this.
And we've been doing this contract for the last 3 years, you said. What'd they do before that?
I'm not aware. I just know that they have a hole there and that they reach out to us, and that's how we've.
How many years are left on this grant?
This is an annual grant. So
What?
This is an annual grant.
Annual
So
grant.
there's not a number of years. It gets renewed annually. There hasn't been any indication otherwise. So it will renew. It runs September 30th will be the last day. So October 1st to September 30th is the timetable for the grant.
So if the state is already aware that, like, when we apply for the grant, we say we're doing it for these sites in Jersey City and this one in Hoboken, the state's already aware of it and they award us grant monies accordingly. I don't necessarily have a problem with it because the state knows that they're giving this money to us to be used for Jersey City and Hoboken, but and this is probably not a question that you could answer, but I would just hope that, it doesn't count against Jersey City, like when, obviously we're applying for transitional aid right now. I would just hope that, the fact that we're being a good neighbor and applying for this grant money for Hoboken as well as our own children and seniors, I would hope that the state wouldn't be like, oh, well, Jersey City already gets this much aid.
I will safely say when it comes to our state funding, whether it's CACFP, whether it's Summer Food Service Program, they are aware of every single step that we take or they would not approve.
So they're aware.
Yeah, they are. We are in direct communication. We have a team that's in communication with them regularly that manages these grants. And they are aware of basically everything, every move we make requires approval. For anybody on that link, when it says something like not approved, for anybody on our email chain for that stuff, it was like, why is it? There's always, they'll say, hey, address this issue, and then they reapprove it. So it's an ongoing process.
So the money was given to us for us to use on ourselves and on Hoboken.
In this instance, yes, the last 3 years, that this was basically looked at as our summer food service program and the funds reimbursed.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just trying to understand, why are we applying for funding for Hoboken's?
It's not applying for funding for them. It's essentially, I'm here basically as an outreach from them because they need help with that. With that site, they're asking if they can be a part of it, which they have been for the last.
Just
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
just for 2 months, July and August, right?
Yes, yes.
And do we know how many kids are being fed daily in Hoboken versus Jersey City?
Ballpark 50.
50?
Last year it was 50. I can't give you that specific number yet, but
Okay, all right.
last year was in the ballpark of 50.
50 Jersey, did you say 50 Jersey City kids?
No,
Hoboken.
Hoboken kids. Anybody else? All right.
I'm sorry, can I just ask,
Oh, go ahead.
under this grant, then how many, this is just an MOU for Hoboken. We obviously don't need an MOU, or do we need an MOU for our Jersey Cities?
I should hope not. No, we have about 57 sites, or I say 57, 58 last year. No. This is just to get approval to do this process, basically.
This grant has 57 Jersey City sites and 1 Hoboken.
Yeah. That was the peak last year. That could change this year. I would estimate that it will be in the ballpark, but that's a safe assumption.
All right. Next,
Thank you.
Director Ambrose. Public Safety.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Here about my appointment under 8.3. The last 67 days I've spent here in Jersey City, working with public safety. I'm here tonight before you. Any questions that you have? We did some good things in the last 60 days. Recently, Mayor and I and some of the council people spoke about our reorganization, spoke about the domestic violence, forming a domestic violence unit, traffic unit. There's really no data. We're starting a whole data collection unit so we can hold people accountable. Community service, there's really limited community service in each district. I'd like to have a centralized community service command. There's a lot more to go. There's a lot more to do. I'm just asking your support.
Okay. Director, so you've been here for a total of almost 70 days. Based on your experience and or expertise that you have in your prior role, how do you feel that helped you address any of the deficiencies that you've seen since you've been on post here?
Well, I will tell you that a lot of the issues that are happening here in Jersey City were in Newark back in 2014 when the mayor took office there and I was asked to go there. So they almost mirror one another. A lot of things that were done in Newark, New Jersey. I hate to tell you that we're just doing it here in Jersey City. They were very successful there. One thing was the 9/11 Center in Newark, New Jersey. 17,000 calls were coming to Jersey City. You were picking our phone calls up. It's not that bad and critical here, but I see there's some issues in a beautiful building, $220 million building, but it lacks some upgrades for the community when they call 911. That's some things that we had in Newark when I took over in 2016. So the community engagement part of it, when I went back to Newark, there was a consent decree where there was violation of civil rights. There was violation of the Fourth Amendment. So I don't see that at this point here in Jersey City. I have to say the majority of the people that I've met with in the police department and in the community, they all say the same thing, that they never had an open door, that they never were a voice for change. So I'm willing to listen like I did in Newark, New Jersey.
You said how much that building was?
222 million.
Maybe we could sell that to plug the deficit. Anybody got any questions for Director? Yeah, Monsa.
Sorry?
Yeah, Monsa.
Not a question. Want to congratulate you. I was in General Square area near Lowe's on Saturday, and the enforcement there, I've never seen it. The cop there was doing such a fantastic job. So thank you.
Elena?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for making the time to sit down with me on Friday. I think we had a really good conversation and I appreciated your commitments to traffic safety and mental health in particular. And I appreciate you prioritizing those and making sure that, situations like what happened with Drew Washington will never happen again. So that carries a lot of weight for me. After our meeting, I read in the Hudson County View about the possible use of AI in public safety. And, I also spoke with the mayor's office about this, and I believe we will, be working to really, how should I say this? The use of AI in public safety raises a lot of concerns for me. I understand it can be a useful tool in many scenarios like health imaging. It can identify cancer early and things like that. In public safety in particular, it's been shown to create more, especially with facial recognition technology. There are privacy concerns. There are also concerns with systemic racism in AI. It has been shown to more frequently misidentify Black and brown faces and possibly create situations where we are targeting someone who should have never been targeted. I understand the mayor does not want to use it like that. However, I am very, very wary of the use of AI in public safety, and I'm looking forward to potentially working on legislation to really spell out exactly where it could not be used. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak a little bit more of what you see AI bringing to your department.
So I think I was asked the question during the press conference, would the JCPD use it? And I said, we would assess it. Right now, I'm looking at not facial recognition, but I'm looking as far as how it will assist in communications or in the police department taking reports. That's all. It's at the really preliminary stage, to be very candid with you, but it's something that I'd be looking at with other police departments along the country, what they're using, or I should say in the state and in the nation, as far as major city police departments, what they use. So we're not there yet, and you'll definitely be aware what we're using it, but it's nothing with facial recognition. I'm looking at more on assisting how we can have for police reporting and get the police officers back on the street quick, and then communications. A lot of places where you talk to AI when you call some of these corporations. That's what I would be looking at when someone calls, that they can get AI and get it right out to us. So that's where I'm at. But you would know before I even do it.
And just to be clear, when you say someone calls and talks to AI, you would not be referring to our 911 system.
No, 911 will never
be internal.
911 would never call AI.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Jake? No? Anybody?
Just briefly, Director, thank you for our conversation last week. We have long-standing issues in Ward C that you and I talked about and going to get a handle on, including transparency, quality of life enforcement, and the walking posts where appropriate around the ward. So if you want to speak to any of that, you feel free, but I just wanted to thank you for the conversation.
Yes, thank you, Councilman. I believe in I believe in walking patrols. As you indicated, I don't believe in fixed posts. Fixed posts is a part-time solution. I believe in a full-time solution. I believe in community policing. Part of community policing is the officer getting out, walking, talking to the merchants, talking to the people that live in the community, know who lives there. I hate to say it, but it's the old-fashioned policing, and that's what works. If there's a problem in an area, I don't think a police car should be stationed at a corner, and all the people that live in the area are not bad people. Okay, there may be one or two people that have a problem. So I believe in walking patrols are important, especially in the warm weather. I believe in a lot of parts, every ward of the city, from the Heights to the west, from downtown over to up in this area. I believe that it's in the same area, but I believe walking patrols. I believe the motorcycles are important for traffic. So that's one thing that me and the councilman talked about. Transparency. You will see our crime numbers that I will provide to the business administrator weekly, to the administration. We're all about transparency. That's one thing where I came from in Newark, New Jersey, from the mayor I worked for. It was about transparency to the community, because if we want to build trust, that's the only way we're going to build trust. So you're going to get that from me. Some days you may like the numbers, and some days you may not like the numbers, but you're going to know the truth from me.
Greg, I just really want to thank you and the administration with regards to the flashing lights, because I believe there's a huge difference between flashing lights and public safety. I was always interested to see, was there any correlation between flashing lights and decreasing crime? For the life of me, I couldn't understand that position at all. I literally banged my head on the wall trying to figure out if there were some correlations to lights just flashing 2 and 3 in the morning and a decrease in crime. So I do want to thank you and the administration on that front, particularly on the south side, because we want people to feel safe in the community. We also don't want people to feel over-policed in the same breath. So I just want to publicly thank you and administration for that.
Thank you. It does reduce fear. When people know that police are in the area, especially at night, it reduces fear for any type of crime.
And Director Ambrose, we'll be talking more about it, as you mentioned about Little India. I've been working closely with, and me and my office has been working closely with your department. I think we need to look for a long-term solution there. We have been getting calls pretty much every day. People feel, with the past experience, they don't feel as confident as we would like them to have on us. So I think long-term solution is really needed, especially for Indian Square.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
will.
I have a couple.
No, I think Joel, you had a question? All right, Rolando.
Hi, Director Ambrose. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. We had a good conversation last week. Appreciate that. Just a couple of questions, as I said, you shared it with me when we spoke, but just to get it on the record, public record. On the 911 system, can you talk about the improvements and that you'll be bringing to the system there?
So the 911 system, a few things. There was really no one in charge. That's the best way I can put it to you. About 2 weeks into it, 3 weeks into it, it was our first snowstorm. The chief and I assigned a deputy chief in charge of communications. When you asked the call takers who they were working for, they were working for somebody, they saw the person, they didn't see the person, so it was important that somebody was there. We also assigned a command rank officer. Every hour, I get a notification and the chief gets a notification, how many calls are there, how many calls are being dispatched, how many if someone's being watched at the hospital, what's our resources look like? There was no accountability. That was one thing. There is a committee that I formed and the chief formed for the 9/11 Center to make sure that there's policies and procedures. Also, when people call, that there's almost like a cookie cutter. If someone calls, there's a problem, ask this, ask that. There was none of that in place. There was also no prioritization of assignments. If someone called for domestic violence, someone called for a blocked driveway, well, we better send to the domestic violence. We're changing that. So I think that we also transferred some people that were in the department into communications, I will say, to answer the phones and to dispatch. They're in training right now. So we definitely enhanced the personnel. We enhanced leadership in there. We also hold them more accountable. That's one part that I think is more importantly. The fire side did the same. Deputy Director, Acting Deputy Director Hart assigned someone to a battalion chief over to the communication side. I have to say the kids were alone. No one was really watching them. There were a few supervisors that were doing an extraordinary job, but there was no accountability, what we expect and the expectation of the citizens. Some things that we did learn is that when you do call 911 from a cell phone, I spoke to Councilwoman Little about this, that sometimes it may go to Manhattan. Sometimes it may go to Bayonne. Not all the time does it go to our call center, and that's a problem. But I have to say, it's a work in progress. It's better than it was when we found it. We're going to get better. There is some enhancements we have to do with the vendor, that it was just really paying attention, that we want to know how long something is in the queue, how long before it's dispatched. People before me didn't really care how long it was before it was dispatched.
No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair. Back wasn't hurting all day, so I sat in this chair. All right, thank you, Director Ambrose.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Acting Deputy Director Lauren Hart, Public Safety, Fire.
Good afternoon, Council. Acting Deputy Director Lauren Hart, Department of Public Safety, here to speak on 3 agenda items for your consideration. First one, agenda item 10.4, resolution 26-125. This is a resolution to authorize the acceptance of fiscal year 2024 FEMA-funded fire prevention and safety grant, which was awarded on September 27th, 2025. This is a $20,000 grant with a 2-year performance period with federal fundings totaling approximately $19,000 and a 5% match from the city of about $950. This grant has the same Article 11 language as previously accepted in the 2024 FEMA AFG grant, which I believe the administration was able to address your concerns at, I think, 2 council meetings ago.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions? 10.4. None. Next one, 10.
Fantastic. Agenda item 10.15. This is resolution 26-136. Resolution authorizing the award of a contract to New Jersey Fire Equipment for the maintenance and repairs of the SCBA breathing apparatus. This is critical equipment that the firefighters use to enter these conditions where there's fire and smoke. This also covers the testing and maintenance of the associated bottles and compressors. This is done through state contract. The total cost of the contract is $100,000, which is currently available in the Department of Public Safety Division of Fire operating budget.
Anyone have any questions? Next one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Joel.
Hi, Director, Councilmember Brooks. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the document here. There's a contract. This might be a question for Corporation Counsel. Sorry, 23 pages. Yeah, okay. The contract. All right. Agenda's moving too fast for me. You know what? Come back to me. Go to the next item.
Okay. All right. 1013, Director.
1013, resolution 26-134. This is a resolution awarding a contract to Safeware Inc. for the purchase of cybersecurity protection software through the U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance, known as Omnia Partners, for the Department of Public Safety Communications Center. Basically, this is a software contract. Altera serves as the public safety cybersecurity and patching software. This is an annual renewal that expired in December. However, the company has kept our service active to ensure we remain protective. This program has successfully prevented Jersey City Public Safety from being compromised on numerous occasions by alerting us and blocking attacks. To date, we're the only local law enforcement network that has not been taken down by attackers since COVID. Given the recent increase in cyber attacks from outside companies, this software remains vital to our operations.
You said we're the only, say that again?
The only local law enforcement agency, I believe in the state of New Jersey, that has not had any successful attack by attackers since COVID.
Oh, wow. That's one thing Steve and them did good. That's pretty, that's huge, man.
Vote aye.
With the way, that's great right there. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, is this proprietary software?
You know what? This, I'm not 100% clear on this one. This was given to me this morning.
Oh.
We can get back to you on it.
Now you know how we feel.
If I can build on Councilman Griffin's question, just a concern that comes up is if the AI that this software uses is not proprietary, if it's going through a more generic company, then a concern is that our data as a city would be shared with the owners of those private companies. And I'm
not a tech expert.
Yeah.
Most of this is firewall applications. Okay. I'm not sure how much AI is involved.
Okay. Yeah, if we can find out if we can do any digging into RFP and things just to understand, because when we were digging in, it looks like this company does use AI. So just wanting to understand.
I'll get clarification for you.
That would be great.
Not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Joel, you good? You look. All right. All right. Thank you, Director Hart.
Thank you.
Next, Cultural Affairs, Director Goodman.
Afternoon, council members. Christine Goodman, Cultural Affairs. I have one item in front of you, item 10.3, Resolution 26-124. This is a resolution authorizing Jersey City to execute an indemnification agreement with the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, authorizing the city risk manager to issue a certificate of insurance for the use of Liberty State Park for our city presented events for 1 year. That's our Summerfest, police walks.
Anyone have any questions?
This would not include anything FIFA related this summer, right?
Well, if it was a city presented event that was FIFA World Cup related, it would include that. But right now, we don't have any plans to present any World Cup related events in Liberty State Park.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Next, John
Does this include the jazz concerts too?
Right now, we do not have any jazz concerts that are presented by Jersey City. So there is a Jersey City Jazz Festival that is presented by an independent nonprofit organization in Exchange Place.
Good. Yeah, okay, so the summer concert series is run by the state park, not the city.
Well, we do run a concert series. It's called Summerfest, and it's held Sundays and Tuesdays at Liberty State Park.
Okay.
That falls under this. Yes. And there is jazz sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
That's-
say.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
Jazz night.
But that,
Okay. Yes.
so I do have a question that, now that you brought that up, does this cover, all right, so the jazz, so that's the jazz at the Liberty House?
Well, it's called Summerfest, and there's a mix of different genres.
Okay, and so this insurance only covers what the city does. This isn't like New City Kids, when they have the kids down there sailing or anything like that. You guys don't cover nothing like that.
Correct. They do their own permitting directly with the state, and that does not involve us.
Okay, and I guess one last question. Have you ever encountered, or has anyone ever asked to use the insurance under you guys?
In Liberty State Park, no.
Okay.
Yeah. If people apply for permits with Cultural Affairs, because we do permit all events that happen on city property, if they would ask for an insurance waiver, and that would go through the risk manager to approve.
Okay.
So that would be something different on city property, but for state property, no, we just deal directly with the state, and so do other organizers.
All right, thank
Okay,
you,
thank you.
Director. John McKinney, Law.
Councilman, he spoke already. He was here for the dedication by rider.
Oh, okay, thank you. John Folk, JCMUA.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm John Folk, the Director of Finance at the MUA. Richard Haydes, Chief Engineer. We're here for one item, 10.10. It's a resolution authorizing the execution of a bulk water agreement with the city and Veolia. It's a long-term, we're renewing a long-standing agreement to sell bulk water to Veolia. It has already been approved by our Board of Commissioners. We're asking for your approval because the city owns the water system and we have a franchise agreement to operate it. The rate that we charge is determined by allocating the treatment and distribution costs. And we are selling excess capacity water from our Boonton Reservoir.
John, quick question, John. As it relates to the contract with Veolia, their current contract expires when?
2027. That's the operating contract. This here is to just sell them bulk water, and it's for 3 years.
So, yeah, thank you for that. So that's pretty much my question. So why aren't these two contracts, one for the service and one about a bulk water, why are they out of whack? Like if we
Okay.
vote on this one, subsequently it will be 3 years to expire, and then the one that's current expires in 27.
Yeah, good question. The state only allows us to go into an agreement to sell bulk water for 3 years to a private entity. So we were here 3 years ago with the same thing. So the state only allows 3 years. We can't go out like when we went into renewed the agreement, the operating contract about 7 years ago. We were not able at that time to include the bulk water.
So, but all that considered, my concern is what if anything happens if this council, what if anything happens if we don't renew the contract for Viola in 27, but they have the contract for the bulk water?
Although they'll continue to pay us for the bulk water. They need the bulk water. We have extra water that we can sell to them. So
What I'm saying is they're going to be supplying that water to Jersey City residents, right?
Oh, this water they supply to
Other municipalities?
yes, the private.
Oh, okay, so they're in line, okay, so the bulk water is the disbursement of water, it's ours, we're contracting them, and subsequently they're going to sell to whoever.
Right, to let's say, North Hudson somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Just looking at this, it looks like the rates are supposed to be explained in Schedule B, but Schedule B is blank on the PDF. Could you just help clarify what's going on with the rates and
Okay.
walk us through that a bit more?
Or
please?
the rate, not frequently, not annually, we conduct a rate study to determine what are the costs of providing bulk water. And currently the cost is, the rate is $2,938 for 1 million gallons.
Say that, 2,900,
For 1 million gallons.
no, say the number again, I heard, it's 2,000.
2,938.
2,938 per million gallons.
And so over the course of 3 years, what's the expectation? Is there a basic estimate?
Yes,
of what we would,
like 7.5 million
7.5 million we would recoup?
Gallons or dollars?
No, money.
dollars.
Dollars. Yeah.
Dollars.
7.5.
$7.5 million dollars.
Oh, you guys.
So,
So, so let me ask, with, this process, selling bulk water, to Viola, has there ever been talks or conversation to, consider, exchange like a discount to them, to lower rates?
Well, by us selling this water to Veolia, it helps us to keep the Jersey City rates a bit lower. So because of this, we're able to allocate a lot of our fixed costs up at the dam. We're able to allocate that to this bulk water. So if we, like, let's say we wouldn't sell this water, then the rate to the consumer here would be, to the resident, would be a little bit higher. No one calculation. We did not really do the calculation of how much higher, but this here helps out keep the rate, I'll use the term, lower for the residents.
So if we sell it in the next 3 years at a different rate, by default, the Jersey City consumption rate will drop based on your mathematic metric.
You'd have to say that again, please. Just I'm not, what
Because you're saying that this bulk sale helps us, like it takes
Yeah.
financial constraints away from us because we're selling
Correct.
some of it.
Correct.
So if we decide to sell it for more,
Well,
does that correlation
Okay.
now, does,
Well, okay, so the rate, we don't like decide what we want to sell it for. We do a rate study and then the study, we cannot like profit from the bulk water. We can only allocate our expenses. And by selling the bulk water, yeah, correct. I know it's,
so the,
Councilman, if I could inject, there's state law that we can't profit off it because it's a public necessity. So even like, let's say there's a drought and everyone needs water, we have a ton of it, we can't jack up the prices and profit off it. The study, but set by state law, dictates essentially how much we can sell it to based on a, market rate that's supposed to be amenable to the public and basically provide a public necessity, to the general good.
so the state dictates the market, basically.
Doesn't dictate the rate. That's done based on the rate study, but there's state law that says you can't profit it. So we can't say, hey, we're selling it for X dollar per gallon. If we jack it up $2 more, it's less money for the taxpayers. We can't do that. It has to be consolidated in that rate study. We can't use it for a profit.
Okay, so my next question is, as it relates to all the water companies, everyone is pretty much in the same ballpark for how much they sell water for?
yeah, this is, yes, that is correct.
That is interesting. Anybody else have any other questions? Yolanda?
I guess,
Michael?
just one last question. So will we be looking to sell bulk water to other companies or municipalities?
Well, yeah, and it's a little bit of a complicated question because at the dam, we have a system capacity. So we need to maintain excess water for more building in Jersey City. A building cannot be built unless we have the water for it. So it would, we have approached other towns if they would like some water, but we weren't successful. But also we can't just keep on selling. This here sale to Veolia fits within what they call our safe yield.
All right, thank you, John. Next, Noble from IT. This is IT? Oh, IT, yeah.
Good afternoon, council members. I have one item before you today. Resolution 26-132, agenda item 10.11. A resolution ratifying an agreement with Network Management Solutions, Inc. for support of proprietary computer network, hardware, and software system. The total contract price is $141,600. Network Management Solutions, network engineers, and systems analysts help us design, monitor, and provide maintenance to the city's wide area network and security tools.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
A comment. The contract is effective January 1st, 2026.
Yes.
So it's effective now, currently.
Yes.
Yeah. So it kind of makes our approval moot in that sense, right? I've brought this to the previous administration when I was previously on the council, and I might have brought it up in previous meetings as well, but just urge the administration to put some controls in place and practices to ensure that these contracts come to us for approval prior to their actual start date, effective date.
Next, Tanya. Thank you, Noble. What Tanya? Oh, Tanya.
So I'm here for item 10.9, resolution 26-130, and that is the authorization of the area in need of redevelopment study to the planning board. I don't know if you've had the chance to review it. You have some questions. I know I spoke to Councilman Zupa. I know Councilman Efros is also interested. The redevelopment process has to start again with the authorization. So City Council authorizes the planning board, which will then obviously authorize us to conduct a study based on state statute within the local housing redevelopment law. We would go out and study and make a determination on the area that meets criteria. So it's actually very regulated. It meets criteria A, and this is why I think why. We go through that process. The planning board then would review that study, make a decision whether the determination met the standard, and then we go forward with the redevelopment plan. So this is just point one for the study. Just so you know, within the resolution, the majority of it is giving us the authority to study it with the powers of eminent domain, except for 2 properties. And I did speak with the owners this afternoon at 188 Palisade and 202 Palisade. We are not authorized to use powers of eminent domain or condemnation for those properties. Those are properties where 2 women live right now, and they are actively living and taking care of their property. So there is not really a need for the eminent domain process.
All right. Anyone have any questions?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Michael, did you?
Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you. Yeah, and I know you and I didn't get a chance to speak directly about this, but lots 2 and 6 are the ones you're referring to for the non-condemnation, but it would all be part of the same redevelopment zone hypothetically.
Right, correct. So going forward, moving the zoning, right? There's the zoning and the redevelopment powers. Writing of the zoning and the overall plan, they'll still be a part of it. I did speak with them again this afternoon, so they do understand the difference and that they would be at least a part of the planning process and the zoning. I don't want to use the word zoning because it gets confusing, right? It's the redevelopment plan, but it would be the zoning for the redevelopment plan. So they understand that they would be a part of that process, but no condemnation.
Understood. And then during the course of the study, should we approve this, are sales or developments or demolitions permitted?
Yeah, so they can continue on like nothing's happened.
Okay, during that time, got it. And then is there clarity at this point on the relationship between the land owner and the hospital owner itself? Has Eisenreich sold the land to HRH? Is that?
So I do know that the land ownership and the building ownership are different. But I will say, as a part of the study and designation, when there's confusion as to titles and who owns what and who can do what, that's a criteria that you can designate somebody for redevelopment. So it will be something used. And I think right now I can't give you a better answer than that, but I think when we go further into this process, I'll get a much better answer of that.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's it for right now, but.
Michael?
Yes, so I know you said that 2 homes will not be under condemnation, but will the hospital be under condemnation?
It is being studied to utilize the eminent domain. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's important in case we're able to find a operator for that property. We can go ahead and move forward with eminent domain. And so the plan, so when we have some, because I know that a plan in need of redevelopment, there's no condemnation. Redevelopment plans have condemnation. So will this redevelopment plan be zoned? It's going to be zoned out to where it's like this is in need of redevelopment, so there's no condemnation, and then redevelopment plan, or are we looking at 2 different plans?
So I always say redevelopment is kind of like that stimulus, right? You know, the area needs a little bit of extra help, so the government gives it an extra help. But in order to even do that, you need to designate it. The old word is blight. Nobody uses the word blight anymore, not legally used. Now it's just that area in need of redevelopment or condemnation. So that's just a designation. That's to say that this meets the criteria for blight, which allows us to give the government intervention That's all that it is.
Mhm.
But it does authorize the redevelopment power. So we can do things like eminent domain. We can do things like you can issue pilots, you can issue RABs, that all of those kind of tools in order to redevelop become legal. The zoning itself is completely something separate, and we'll have to go through an entire community process to really figure out what the ideal zoning for the situation.
Okay, and just one last question. I know I asked you this in the hallway, but I just want everyone to hear to get it on record. So it's possible to add this to the master plan as well.
Yes, we can absolutely add it to the master plan. So the master plan has language in there for Christ Hospital currently.
Okay.
But we can also make amendments to the master plan and to address that just way it aligns with any of the redevelopment that we're proposing.
Okay, because the master plan does supersede redevelopment plans.
No,
No?
no, it has to be connected.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? Any questions? Elena?
Thank you, Tanya. So just to make sure I have the full understanding of this would be the first step, to conduct this investigation and, possibly designate this as an area in need of redevelopment with the power of condemnation. That would be the first step that would be required for eminent domain, whether it was the city, the county, or the state that was eminent domaining it. Is that accurate?
Yes, so who is going through the condemnation process has to be a public entity. Typically, it's the JCRA. I believe the JCRA can, and in some instances has given the Hudson County Improvement Authority the ability to do so, but it does have to be a redevelopment agency and or city, especially if it is within that designation of redevelopment.
Okay, and if it was designated as an area of need of redevelopment with the power of condemnation, that would not require us to pursue eminent domain. It would just open the option.
Right, it makes it legal, right? It gives them power to basically that Fifth Amendment, yeah.
Okay, so this is essentially just keeping our options open.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any estimate for how long the study would take? I mean, based on previous experiences with similar plans?
This is the conversation I had with the homeowners this morning. It depends on whether or not we're going to do it in-house. That's just the truth of the matter. So it's not a conversation that's new. We've already been having this conversation. And so it will be a matter of whether the planning division has the staff to do it, and we can go out and do it ourselves, or we are going to need to bring in a consultant to do it, right? Again, it's an ongoing conversation. It's really important to us. We know it's important to the council. We know it's important to the administration. So it might just be something that we prioritize.
Okay,
So-
anyone? Oh,
So was this area studied for the master plan? Was there a study done?
It was, yes, it was part of the master plan. The master plan suggested that Christ Hospital was going to need to be redeveloped at some point, or there needed to be some investment into this area. And it did talk about residential uses into the master plan. The last council, when they changed the ordinance, did,
Okay.
yep,
I got you.
Yep.
All right.
yes. But you can make it a master plan amendment.
Okay. Thank you.
all right, Tanya, thank you. Next, John Lynch, DPW, was, John.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm here with two items, one on behalf of Director Kears, Resolution 26.138. It's a resolution awarding the negotiated open-end contract to Tumino Towing for citywide heavy-duty equipment
10-7,
towing services.
1017.
10-7. Wait, didn't,
1017. 10.7.
Thank you.
oh, okay, put 10-7.
This is for the towing of any of our heavy equipment in case, for off-duty or multiple tows, because we do some of this we do this in-house.
This is not a renewal, right?
No,
So we've never used this company before?
as far as I know, no.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were the only ones that bid on it.
Okay.
What is heavy duty towing?
For the anything like garbage trucks, snow equipment, buses, large units, any of our large units.
John, can you give me, it's been a while since I've been up, had this conversation. What does our auto impound services look like these days? Like, is it
Not familiar.
outsourced or is it insourced, internal?
I'm not familiar with the impounding.
Councilman, we currently have an in-house operation. We use private vendors to do some of the smaller tows. They tow them to the lot that we manage through public safety. A lot, the cars are intaked into there, documented, whatever towing fees would be associated with or cataloged. And then any residents who would be affected by it have to go down to the impound lot, pay the fees in order to retrieve the car back. If they don't retrieve their car back, kind of like we did a couple of weeks ago, after a certain period of time, we can auction that off publicly. And then, the idea is cars in, cars out, and keep enough space so we can keep on utilizing it.
So when we tow a car, a private company tows it. They take it to a public lot or some location for us, and we hold on to it and inventory the whole thing?
Most of the time, yes. We do have the capability to tow some things in-house, but usually they're related to public safety, things of that nature. The majority of the towing is done by private vendors.
Towing is, but the storing and the,
Are done publicly, yes. We have a completely in-house public operation.
and who's running that operation currently?
It's run out of public safety through the parking enforcement generally, so Travis Ragland.
I'll probably just want to reach out to you offline and my staff to just get a better sense of where that falls in our budgets and things.
Yep, will do.
Next one, John.
10.12, this one should actually been on it last meeting. It's the contract with Avid. It's for our gas and electric for the bill payment for our buildings and facilities.
Anybody have any questions for 10.12?
This was on the previous agenda?
It should have been along with the lighting, because so Avid breaks it down to two bills, which we request, one for buildings and our facilities, and the other one for the street lighting, traffic signals. So this should have been along with it on the last agenda. For some reason, it didn't make it. So it's just a continuation of the to pay our PSE&G bills for the buildings and facilities.
How much of this is actual energy costs, gas and electricity versus their fee?
Excuse me?
The way I'm reading this is that it's a company that pays our gas and electricity. Is that?
Well, we use their bill management system to pay PSE&G.
Yeah.
So as I said,
Just like the last one, right?
yeah, pretty much. We get all these bills and then it goes all into their bill management system. And they give us two bills, one for the buildings and facilities for gas and electric, and the other one is for street lighting, cameras, and traffic signals.
And how much of this money that we're spending of this contract going towards the bills versus?
All of it. They charge us a fee. It's like $2,500 a month to process everything.
It's a flat fee.
Yeah. Yeah. And for as far as the money, what we're looking to encumber, it's an obligation to pay PSE&G.
Gotcha.
All righty. Thanks, John. Next, infrastructure, and Andy and Drew.
Hello, council members. I'm Andy Kaplan with Drew and Lindsay from Infrastructure. We have a couple of items. Figured we'll go through all of them, starting from the top. Is ordinance 3.1 for PS 16 no parking.
Good afternoon, council. Drew Banghart from Infrastructure. Like Andy said, item number 3.1, this is for an amendment to vehicles and traffic section of the ordinance, stopping and standing near PS 16. It's essentially amending the afternoon drop-off between Sussex and Morris Street, adding 2 hours to go to 6 p.m. And the second part of it is adding a new afternoon drop-off from 2 PM to 6 PM. I'm sorry, 2 PM to 6 PM is Sussex to Morris, and then the extra 2 hours is Grand to Sussex.
True, quick question, if you know, what happens, like we have the regular allocated hours for drop-offs, but what happens and whose responsibility if the school day is shortened? So if kids supposed to get dropped off at 8, they still come in at 8, but sometimes they have a half a day. Who, like, how do we iron that out? Because residents have been reaching out with regards to that. Is that within the Jersey City scope? Is that the board?
I saw the earlier email. It's something I think we're gonna have to work through. I did look to see if we had any of these types of half-day ordinances written currently, and I didn't find any with any other schools. It would, the one way to approach it would be like an all-day type drop-off scenario, but I don't know if the appetite is there to have like a 7 AM to 6 PM, no parking window, in any.
I don't
Not
think
gonna work.
I
don't
think,
think we should do that. It's probably only 5 or 6 half a days a year. But I agree that we need to do something that we can work in conjunction with the school to get the calendar ahead of time, especially in the schools which are considered in our high traffic areas, because I do understand the safety concern as it relates, especially with the younger kids that, 7 and under and things like that.
yeah, absolutely. I think we'll engage Deputy Mayor Bryant to help us with those conversations with the school board. It's kind of a moving target when half days are variable throughout each school year. So the ordinance is written on more of like a Monday through Friday type scenario. So, but I think we can come up with something.
We can't do from 7 to 6 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think,
I'm not saying do it.
I think parking enforcement should be involved with that as well. That way, when we get those dates, they can go out like the day before and hang those signs up, the no parking signs, throughout that street, and people will know.
I
Yeah,
think
that'll be part of the conversation. I did contemplate possibly it being more of like a traffic permit for those days since.
Okay, all right.
a couple of
spread out.
questions I have. How many spots do we need for these buses? How many spots we need?
It varies depending on the school and who gets bused to them. I think this particular school has a large afternoon drop-off because schools are bused to the Danforth Education Center.
So, Palosoke is pretty congested, and if we close couple of blocks, it's going to be really, really uncomfortable or inconvenient for people. And obviously, we just need for drop off and pick up, not 6 o'clock. Kids are done by 3 to 4. But then did we reach out to community, people living next to the school, not the parents, residents living there? Did we talk to them about their concern?
We had staff that went out to observe what was going on. This came to us, I think, through the principal's office as well. And just to clarify, I know school ends early, but this particular location, because of the busing that comes from the Danforth facility, they are having buses arrive around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And after-school programs as well, I believe they have a
But
later.
that's not too many kids for after-school programs.
So this
Oh,
was.
no, there's a lot of kids that they transport from up there.
This was the request from the parents because they said the buses were still there even as late as 6 PM. And they asked if, right now it's the no parking 2 to 4 PM. They asked if we could extend it to 2 to 6 PM because that reflects the hours the buses are actually there.
And Councilwoman, if I may.
Yes, please.
To address your concern, so this is not anything to do with any sort of street closure. I know that's been a request.
Yeah.
We're not moving anything forward, and that's a further conversation if
Okay.
may happen, may not. This is purely about freeing the curb space so that the buses can utilize it, which would actually take them out of the roadway and address some of your concerns about.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying. And and we had this discussion, right, last week. if we have multiple spots and just enforcing that nobody else is parking, I think we never have to think about blocking or closing the block, because again, it will be really inconvenient. The way Polishuk is, it's almost, one way. So my personal opinion is maybe not a good idea.
Appreciate that feedback. We haven't done an observation yet, so it's a little
Okay.
for us to agree or disagree, but appreciate that feedback.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Kaplan.
Next one. What is that? Now, what's
The next one is agenda number 4.2. This is another ordinance supplementing chapter 332. And as it relates to the new parking zone 20 around the Liberty State Park HBLR station. This is a second reading ordinance. There may have been some conversations about
Yes.
tabling this.
Does anybody have any questions? 4.2, it's the second reading. This is the Liberty Park area.
So what I believe is going to happen is that they're going to carry the ordinance instead of tabling it. So we wouldn't have to conduct a public hearing until meetings are held. I believe that's what the issue was.
Yes, I remember that being said by the council president. She wants to meet with the community before this happens because there are some concerns with residents outside of the permitting streets, but in the neighborhood where they fear that their streets would get inundated with cars.
Okay.
So all I would need.
Pacific Avenue and yeah, that area, yeah, further down Communipaw. So there will be community meetings.
All right.
All I would need is a motion at the council meeting to
Motion.
carry it at the council meeting.
Oh. All right, next.
Next on to resolutions. This is agenda item number 10.19, resolution 26-140. This is a resolution requesting a 6-month time extension from the New Jersey Department of Transportation for our grant regarding Christopher Columbus Drive for fiscal year 2023. I will have another item that's very similar to this. We've been working with our partners at the MUA and their ongoing improvements to that corridor. They have a project for water and sewer that they're progressing through funding, and just to try and stay in line with them so we're not making improvements that get disrupted by their future improvements. We're working with the state and with them to get those projects aligned in their construction timeline.
Hey, Drew, do we know the exact addresses?
For this item this improvement is from, I'll call it Marcelli's all the way down to Green Street for Columbus Drive.
From
So
Marcelli's down to Green Street.
it's almost end to end.
Yeah, basically
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole,
behind Ferris.
the whole corridor.
Yeah, so our project would be to improve bike infrastructure, repave the roadway,
Okay.
new striping. And the MUA has a large water and sewer project underground, complicated kind of by the path tunnel that exists in that corridor as well.
So,
Okay.
so this is basically to ask the state to. give
Yeah, it's
6
part of,
month-
we got a grant, we got two grants. I have another item that I'll present for the next funding year, but to try and capture this entire project using grant funding, we split it up over 2 years. We've done it for roads before, similar to Cave and Point Road, where we used 2 years of funding. Nonetheless, this is the state's process. They have a timeline where they want a construction contract awarded. It's looking like we're not going to meet that deadline based on trying to align with the MUA. So we're just trying to get ahead of it and get an authorization for an extension of the grant money.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the next one?
So item 10.20, 26-141 is the same exact thing. It's just for the funding year. That's 2024.
What is this, 10 what?
So there was 2 funding years that we didn't spend. Cause so we got it in 23 and in 24?
Yeah, so 2023, we applied for a grant. It covered about half the cost of the entire project that we wanted to do in the corridor. It was decided we would apply again to try and, fill that gap to get all the grant money. And each grant has their own deadlines, but we have them aligned now basically within a month, to get a 6 months extension, which would be end of October this year for the one, and then middle to end of November for the other.
So I'm just trying to understand. So the grant money,
Is for construction. I'm sorry if I didn't specify. So that we won't be able to draw down on that until we have a construction contract awarded, which a successful bidder would be on board and we'd be doing the work in the street.
but I'm trying to understand. So we applied for the grant in 2023. It says fiscal year 2023. We got awarded in the same year we applied for it?
The award comes later on the following year.
So the grant that we applied for in 24, we got it the following year?
So just to clarify, it's one project that's funded by two grants. They're the same grant program, but the grant is subsequent year. So half of the funding required to build this project was awarded one grant year. The following grant year was the second half of the funding, and we've combined them to do the entire project at once. But the resolution to extend the grants needs to be done for the two separate awards. That's why there's two resolutions before you.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
It's confusing.
Yes. All right, what's the next one?
Nope.
Hold on, wait.
Hold
on. Drew, thanks. And Andy, thank you both. Not really a question, just maybe offline. My office would like to get briefed on the project itself. And if there was a traffic study, get a copy of that as it pertains to this particular project. Okay,
Certainly.
thank you.
So now, I was in Baltimore a few years ago and they have a scooter program as well. And this scooter program, you get the scooter and you just drop them on the ground. That's not this, is it? Because they were everywhere.
No, this is a road improvement project, so more asphalt pavement, concrete sidewalks, changing the bike.
Oh,
lane
I'm sorry. I jumped ahead of myself.
All right, I'm sorry.
I'm ahead of myself. I'm sorry about that.
What's the next one, Drew?
I apologize. I went a little bit out of order and skipped this one. This is agenda item number 10.16,
Yes.
resolution 26-137. This is a resolution authorizing an award to Tomco Construction for the construction of the Morris Canal Greenway, sections 3, 5, 10, and 11. This is a federally funded grant project that we've been working on for many years. It's essentially off-road bike and pedestrian trail down near the end of Danforth from Sullivan Trail through Country Village and along Sycamore Road. It transitions to On Street, down Gates Avenue, Garfield, Merritt, and Linden Avenue in the form of bike sharrows. And there's a gap in between on the side of Berry Lane Park where Segonia Hardware is. It loops around Whitlock Cordage and then transitions into Maple Avenue and Van Horn.
So the Morris Canal Greenway is up by Gates?
Yeah.
So
Oops.
the initiative is to try and transform the former Morris Canal Greenway that existed in the entire state into a bike and walkway trail, and it tries to keep alignment with where the greenway is. There are some houses where it used to run, but nonetheless, they're trying to keep it in alignment, and it traverses all the way down through that area of Country Village and then, up into Bergen Lafayette.
Okay.
Now, I have a question because I remember being at one of these meetings. Now, it goes as far as city line, correct? Like bordering Bayonne?
Correct.
Thank you.
Never knew that.
I'd like to know about the funding sources, the accounts that are paying for this. It appears as though it's a grant fund and then two capital accounts. Am I reinterpreting that correctly?
Correct. There's the grant amount for 5.1 million and change. that we were awarded through the federal process. And the bids came in a little higher than the estimates. Admittedly, the estimates were done years ago as part of the federal grant funding project. To update them as kind of an act of Congress to go through the whole process again. So there was a small portion, $289,000 out of capital to put towards this. I am pursuing more funding through the EPA. They have a HDSRF program, if I'm saying the acronym correctly, but hopefully I can bring down even the capital investment to zero through that program.
So the grant is a federal grant
Correct.
with Department of Transportation. What is it?
This one was, I believe it was a TPA TAP R.
Yeah, the Transportation Alternative Program. So this is the Transportation Alternatives Program. That's a federal funding that is then given to each region, and the region would issue grants that were competitively bid. So if it was competitively bid, it would have been through NJTPA, unless it was an earmark. I don't recall. It's possible it was an earmark, but either way, it's administered through the FHWA.
Okay. And we applied for this funding. It's competitive.
Yeah, we applied for this, I believe it was back in 2017.
And the funding itself, that 5 million in the grant, it's what are we, I see, description that says drainage, landscaping and lighting. Can you give me some sense of where a lot of this money is going to?
There's a portion of it that's going to go towards soil remediation. There are portions of the off street that need about 2 feet of soil excavated, then capped with clean fill. And then the rest of it's going towards a lot of underground drainage. It's going to be a permeable asphalt pavement. All the new lighting, we have provisions for security cameras. Along with that, that'll be the bulk of the funding, both the off-road sections behind Whitlock Cottage and through Country Village. The on-road portions, some asphalt pavement upgrades and then pavement markings.
It's our office that's designing this, all of this.
Sorry, say it again.
Our city offices are designing this, or is it other agencies involved with this? Or
This was through a consultant helped with the design.
my last comment is just regarding there's a memo in here to the administration. It's a memo to Denise Ridley and the council members dated February 18th. Here in this particular item, but I can't speak for the others, but I know I've never seen that memo until it came into this ordinance. So it's dated February 18th, and I've shared this in previous administration that it's misleading to kind of suggest that something was sent to us on February 18th if we didn't actually get it. May have been produced and added to this package, but it's not actually being transmitted to us. So I'd ask that the administration either transmit these documents at the time that they're produced or date them appropriately at the time that we receive them. Right?
I don't know what memo you're referring to, Councilman.
There's a memo in there. It's page 6 of the document.
I believe it's part of the award memos that we create and then upload to iCompass.
February 18, 2026, it says, is the date of the memo.
Yeah, that might have been the memo when they first introduced it to iCompass, Councilman. So it's not when it was sent, it was when they first did the actual item to iCompass and uploaded everything. That's why it's dated that way.
Yeah, I'm literally looking at it. I don't know if you're looking at it, but it says date February 18th on it, memorandum.
I found it attached to the agenda item. Yeah. Sorry, it's attached to the agenda item. Peter, it's from you to purchasing agent recommending the award. So I think that was just the initial process of this being administered. This wasn't this is a reference item to the council agenda. I don't think this was intended as a memo to council because this is about going to the purchasing agent to kind of ready the contract to make sure it meets all the requirements before it's presented before the council. Peter, you could correct me if.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's from Drew. Initialed by him. Yeah, it's a recommending the award. It's not actually a memo about the whole item.
It's February 18th.
I
I
understand.
mean,
but-
I harp on this, but it's March 23rd today, right? So that's a month and 5 days later. And it's, you know, if I got the memo on February 18th, I'd probably inquire and ask what's some more details about a $6.5 million project. That's just how I would react to that if I got that. So I'm seeing it now, and that's great, but the public also sees this as part of the public record. And then they may ask us, like, you know, you got this thing back in February, and look, this is a good project, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but it's we can do better with the dating of these things. And so,
Sure, I'll instruct the directors when they write memos to make sure they forward it at the time that it's written.
Yeah. All right, Drew, what's the next one?
I believe we're on to Lindsay's item.
Lindsay?
Council, thank you. I'm on agenda number 1021, resolution 26-142. This would be a resolution authorizing an extension of an amendment to an agreement with Lyft Bikes and Scooters LLC for bicycle sharing services. So this is just a 2-month extension of our existing contract that we've had with them for the past 5 years. The purpose for the extension is that we are currently in an active RFP process for a bicycle share consultant or operation. And so being a joint program with the city of Hoboken, our cities are still going through that procurement process and just need a little bit more time to evaluate the proposals. The amount is that Jersey City's share would be is $84,060. In the memo that we provided after introducing the package, we did make reference to we now have revenues from the 2025 program, and that will actually offset the cost of this extension. And that's from the member fees and the sponsorships and advertising revenues that come through that program.
So Lindsay, just to be clear, Bikes and Scooters LLC is the name of the company, not the actual mode of transportation.
That's
Just
correct.
as for bicycle.
That's correct. Yes. This would be for the city bike program, which in Jersey City only has bicycles at this time.
Yes. Lindsay, I will say this, as it relates to the city bikes, I think it's good that we're expanding. My only concern is if we can find locations where the bikes can be placed on the sidewalk versus in the street, because
Parking.
it's already a science project to park as it is. And I do understand that people do use these city bikes, so we know that there is a need for them. My only request is that we try to map out what a best fit in each of the communities in which they're being installed.
Absolutely. That's something that our division is certainly aware of, and we do make every attempt to identify locations on the sidewalk. We do have to be careful about allowing enough space for ADA, for pedestrians to be able to walk. So there are some cases where the location that makes sense requires going into the street. There is new equipment that we've started to deploy, and they're able to make much smaller configurations and also have them split between sides of the street. And so that's what we're going to be moving towards, to try to just stay in the 25 feet where you're not allowed to park. So we're trying to do that.
That was gonna be one of the recommendations I had, if we can like split it up like, on those 4 corners versus one all the way down. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions?
No,
As it relates to this one?
yeah, I just have a comment. As far as placing them, I would just say be mindful and placing them where the 25 feet rule is, because a lot of people, they just turn corners without really looking, and you know, they'll damage the bikes.
Yes, there's been, it's been very few, but we did have in part of the expansion on Pacific and Communipaw, that was a location that the bike share did get struck a couple of times, and we did work with City Bike to relocate that. One thing that City Bike usually will do is do striping and delineators around the station. But that's something we'll try to be cognizant of the turning, especially on like transit routes, which was the case at Pacific and Communipaw.
Okay, what's the next one, Lindsay?
Nope.
Oh, hold on, Rolando.
So I just would like to ask, so I understand that Hoboken got out of this. I may have gotten out of using city Lyft.
Hoboken is part of the current contract, and we're also jointly procuring the next bike share operator right now with the city of Hoboken.
And then how much, this is like a month, for a couple of months, right, till the new, how much does this cost?
So this for the 2-month extension will be, the Jersey City share is about 84, I believe it was $84,060.
Okay. And then we get reimbursed in excess of 2 million? Is that?
No, so the original contract value, the total contract value was 2 million, and that was covering both Jersey City and Hoboken. What we get is a revenue share, and for 2025, that revenue share was $250,999. And so what we'll be able to do is apply that to this cost of the extension. So we'll actually, after paying this, we'll still get money back to the city's general fund as revenue.
Could I get a revenue share that the city has received over the life of this contract annually?
Sure. Yes, we can provide that.
And also utilization rates
Yes.
by different locations and so forth, right?
We can do the ridership by station. We're able to pull.
Lindsay, I guess my last question. So who determines, is it City Bike administration, or is it us in infrastructure? Who determines what areas get the stations as it relates to, is it like high traffic ridership areas that they identify, or is it something internally that we do? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a mixture. So for this last expansion, the analysis was done in-house, and it was done by my colleague, Eli, who utilized geographic information systems to look at what the recommended sort of station density. The closer they are, there's a certain buffer around them and a certain recommendation for how much the buffers overlap, and that's what makes it more successful, because people, if one station is doesn't have bikes, they're within an easy walk of a next station. So it was partially based on a geographic analysis, and then also in this particular expansion, the grant funding had been to provide access to the Port Liberté ferry. And so we were able to really focus in on what would be, I believe we used like a 10-minute bike ride as the sort of overall service area. And then we're continuing to apply for grants to hopefully expand bike share to other parts of the city. So I know we have some ideas, and we've asked in this RFP for the potential operator of the system to also outline where it would make sense to expand.
Of your next bike ride, so if y'all can invite Councilman Griffin, that is.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that's it, right? 1027 is the last one?
Councilman, the last item is resolution, let me look up the agenda item. It was about appointing me as the infrastructure director, 1027.
Yeah, 1027, yes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yes.
So Andy, I know we had briefly spoke. I know just for me, if you can just speak upon your background, your vision, how does that mesh with the administration vision, along with community's vision as it relates to infrastructure?
Yeah, certainly. So for background, the infrastructure department has a couple of key functions. engineering, traffic engineering, transportation planning, as well as architecture, which includes parks and public buildings and sustainability. So I'll start with the vision, then I can give you my background and certainly answer any questions you have. But at a high level, my background's a little bit more on the transportation side, although I also am a professionally licensed civil engineer and a past leader of the American Society of Civil Engineers in New Jersey, as well as the Institute of Transportation Engineers, Greater New York region. I lied. I'm going to give you my background first. I previously worked for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, where I managed the Regional Traffic Management Center, including our partnership with Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waves, and some of the more innovation side there. And I've also then at the Port Authority worked at the LaGuardia and Kennedy redevelopment programs, and it's kind of like the traffic engineer for those facilities. Most recently, I've been at the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, where you've probably heard of as a grant giver. The city receives a fair amount of money there, and they administer federal funds to local towns and counties throughout the northern New Jersey region. So I've learned some familiarity with that process and the different programs available. Before all that, my background's really in safety. I served as the leader of the New Jersey Transportation Safety Resource Center, which was a NJDOT funded and housed at Rutgers, which extended technical safety resources to all municipalities and counties in the state. And while there, we developed kind of a high injury network. We called it network screening program, as well as conducting road safety audits, some of which were in Jersey City, which then flowed into the funding pipeline, some of which are the projects that are funded and seeking construction now. So I have extensive background kind of in the safety, the operations, as well as a little bit in the planning space. As to the vision, I think one of the key focuses that every council member whom I met with, also said was safety on our roadways. Everyone should be able to walk or bike or drive safely from where they're going. So much of the livelihood of living in a city is being able to get places and being part of the community, and that requires getting places and getting them safely. Too often, we see stories of members of our community being killed or seriously injured. And I truly do believe that all of these crashes are preventable, challenging to get ahead of them, but definitely something that with a focused effort and a lot of the great resources in the team that we have, we can and will get ahead of. Another key priority in the department, as you may know, we've had a fair number of departures, including some key director positions that are vacant. So frankly, in order to deliver on the function and the needs of the infrastructure department, we need to really kind of fill those vacancies at the department director level and additionally kind of build out the staff to build out that bandwidth. And most important to me, I see that as an opportunity. We really have an opportunity to kind of, we uniquely have an alignment of vision between the council and the administration, about safety, about, what we want this infrastructure department to accomplish. So we uniquely are able to kind of build the staffing and deliver on that. Another key point from my perspective is really the community engagement. I think it's absolutely critical that we have relationships with the community ahead of time, and that at the end of the day, we're hearing the problems that our community members are facing day in and day out, and that's what we're addressing. We're not putting projects out that don't address a true problem. And further, when we are putting projects out that we believe address a true problem, we're hearing the feedback from all community members and doing our best to mitigate those concerns. Or frankly, if the project isn't good, even if it was good 10 years ago, changing direction as appropriate. I think the infrastructure department has an opportunity to continue to build those relationships with the communities, continue to do that through the council person's offices. And so I'm definitely interested and committed to doing that as well.
Yes, I think the community engagement aspect is so important in a sense that people get to voice their concerns about things, and then you try to find a common ground. Of course, everybody's not going to always agree on everything, but at the very least, you afford people the opportunity to say, hey, your voice, you count. Your voice, your concern matters. I think that is extremely important, especially to the south side of the city. So I'll be on the lookout for that, definitely. Does anyone else have any question? Andy,
I do. Do you mind if I go first?
Rolando, go, please.
Oh, you can go, Joel.
Thank you. Great talking with you, Andy, last week. So just, you mentioned staffing, filling the vacancies that you have. So Division of Architecture, Engineering, Sustainability, Traffic Engineering, Transportation Planning, those are the 5?
And engineering.
Okay. Which divisions are you looking to fill?
So currently, we do not have a municipal engineer who would lead the engineering division. We also have the division director of transportation planning, and division director of transportation engineering who have no longer work at the city from the previous few months. So those are kind of the key leadership roles. We also have identified a number of key roles underneath them, and as part of the budgeting process, certainly have a list of what we think is needed to fully staff the department, and certainly are appreciative that we're going to need to compromise depending on the overall city's financial status. But frankly, I think we need a municipal engineer. Longer term, not having one is probably costing us more money in terms of the quality of projects, the ability to deliver on grants, and then seek more grant funding. Similarly, I think everyone who I spoke to cares deeply about traffic safety, which requires the transportation planning and transportation engineering group to be able to deliver on a lot of these quick fix safety improvements that we're intending to do in the short term.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Andy.
Councilman, how are you?
Very good. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me last week, and we had a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. I just wanted to ask a couple more questions to put some things on the record. And I'm going to start by just sharing a story that I shared with you before. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but it was in my first term of office. And the Ward D Councilman, Michael Yun, and the mayor had talked about changing some of the roadway directions and changing them from two-way roads to one-way roads. This was all, I believe, on the western slope along, and I could be wrong on the street names and which streets were involved, but I believe it was Liberty Avenue, Terrace Avenue, and Columbia Avenue. And so those were two-way roads, and converting them to one-ways with each being alternating, going different directions around that. A lot of money was spent on engineers and studies, and then there was community meeting. And at the end of the whole process in the community meeting, Councilman Yun heard from residents, and they said, "We don't want this." And Councilman Yun said, "Well, I can't support this." And he was originally kind of a supporter when the whole process started, but he basically said, "If the community doesn't support it, I won't support it either." And then Mayor Stephen Fulop said, "Okay, then it's done." And so the money was spent on studies and engineers, but nothing had changed. As an asterisk to all of that, I don't know when it happened, but after I left office, apparently it has changed. So, but at that time, it did not change. And so my question is, when a transportation project has strong opposition from community stakeholders, how do you approach that? And at what point in the process does community input actually change the outcome of the policy that's being proposed? And what kind of community inputs are necessary, whether it's emails, in person, show up to a council meeting, show up to a community meeting, letters, phone calls, Facebook, and so on and so on. So I'll start with that, and then, because that's an easy softball one. No, just kidding.
Thanks for the softball. So a couple responses, because there's a couple kind of questions baked in there. I think the first is, if the public has a strong opposition to a project that's been advanced and has incurred costs, should we move forward with it because it's incurred costs? And the answer is absolutely not. We're here to serve the public, and look, over time, politics change, elected officials change. Sometimes projects last longer than terms, and the direction on them can change. But at the end of the day, we're here to serve the public. And if the public has a strong opposition and they're elected representatives, as the council here, as the mayor have an opinion. The idea that we spent some money on engineering or design or planning is not a reason to do something that the community doesn't want in and of itself. So absolutely, community input and feedback needs to be part of the entire process. Ideally, we're not spending money on planning and design for projects that the public doesn't want, because we're engaging with the public earlier on, that, we're in agreement with some public community engagements as to what the problem is, so that we're not advancing a project that is solving a problem that the community doesn't see as a problem, for example. I do think there are examples where, such as safety, where maybe we do something different, but we have conversations with the community about advancing something. If there's a high injury network, if there's a necessity for a change, working with the community on exactly what that is critical. But, sometimes we do need to collaborate with the elected representatives and the community to determine what we can do to improve safety. Does that answer that question fully?
Yeah, and just in terms of what kind of forms of communication or input from the community?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a big proponent that, when you want community engagement and genuinely want it, which I do and the infrastructure department does, you need to go to the community. You need to find them in the ways that they communicate in the places they are. You can't expect them to show up to a council meeting as the primary means of getting input, right? If you're waiting until there's a council resolution to get your first touch point, that's a problem. So, I can commit that as part of all of our projects and planning studies, we have public input. Often we're holding in-person sessions and or Zoom calls that are publicized and partnered with local community groups, councilpersons, offices, to spread the word so that we can really reach as many members of the community as possible. So there's various different means and methods. And, frankly, I'm a believer that the people who know best how to communicate with the community are the councilpersons who represent it and know it best. So we'll definitely take direction.
And then inside of that community engagement process, how do you define community? And what I mean by that is it, if, for example, we talked about the Municipal Avenue corridor, is it the Municipal Avenue and the businesses there? Is it Clendenny and then Harrison and other streets that are parallel with that around there in those neighborhoods? Or is it, or is it some broader definition beyond that?
It's a good question because, look, at a high level, transportation infrastructure like a street serves both as a neighborhood function where people walk and live, and also as a way to get from place A to place B. So it's a balance. To me, as an instrument of the city, we are here to represent Jersey City. And I think that when there is friction between what a local neighborhood wants in front of their homes, in that immediate block association, and what may be necessary for a larger transportation planning function, then we need to work to make resolution and try to engage the public and identify what the appropriate compromise is, or look at an alternate route or an alternate method to achieve that bigger transportation planning goal. Right now, in order to try to prevent that conflict or minimize that conflict, we're going through the Jersey City Transportation Master Plan. Lindsay would have the exact number, but we've had over 5,000, probably more responses to that plan, both with concerns, problems locally, globally, about transit, about biking, about walking, about parking, about driving, and trying to get a holistic perspective as to what the community as a whole of Jersey City see as the issue. And then as we break that into projects to address those concerns, we will absolutely engage with those along that corridor more locally to ensure that we're not doing something detrimental to them that they're not aware of.
I just heard something there. Are we soliciting input for the transportation master plan?
Is that active, or I'll defer to Lindsay.
Thanks, Cindy. So we had a survey. It has been closed. It was open for several months. There were thousands of responses to that. There's been a number of pop-ups. So we were out in the communities at Arlington Park, at the Isle of Greenville, community barbecue, a variety up in the Heights at the Riverview Farmers Market. The next opportunity for public engagement is really going to be coming up, probably going to land in early May, or late April for the more of a community meeting. And I believe we're having both in person and an online version. And that's going to be to start to see what some of those recommendations are looking like so that we can get input and then start to finalize that plan for adoption. I should mention there is a project website. It's jcnj.org/let's move, and that will have all of the documents and meeting materials, and we'll continue to be posting all of that as we progress through the project.
Just for my staff, just to make a note of that, please.
And just to be clear, that is one project with community engagement on that project, and that is not the end of the department's efforts for community engagement.
Can I continue? Anyone else? No? Michael.
Yeah, so in the past, working with being a acting director for the Jackson Hill Special Improvement District and working with other community organizations, what we found on the south side, there was a lack of I don't want to say transparency, but communication. And we weren't allowed to give any input, right? Like we'd never had a Vision Zero meeting on the south side of the city. The Greenway meetings, very poorly advertised, very poorly attended. And, we have people in our community who, when they hear about this stuff, it's always like, well, how come we haven't heard about it? Right. So, me and you, we had a meeting and you laid out your vision on how to work with the community and gain that trust and, just bring basic infrastructure back to, parts of Jersey City that need it, right? Like paving roads and striping and street signs, legible, right? So, I just appreciate that. And I think that, for the record, we would love to see, how you would communicate better with the community. I know we just heard some of that, but if you want to just dive in a little more.
Absolutely, Councilman. And look, the first of all, I appreciate you putting me in touch with those I Love Greenville, Jackson Hill SID, other organizations that can represent groups in the community. And that's exactly who we need to be speaking to. And, between my team who has relationships with some and the council members who know where our blind spots are, I hope, to find the members of the community that we're not talking to and collaborate together to reach them. Like a request to have a Vision Zero meeting on the south side, we absolutely need to be doing that, and moving forward can collaborate with yourself, Councilman Griffin, Councilman Ridley, Councilman Brooks, whomever's ward it may be in, to facilitate that. We are looking as part of Vision Zero to do things in all wards in terms of community outreach. So that aligns well with our vision and goals. So anyone that we should be speaking to who we have not had a productive relationship in the past, I welcome that connection and we'll be able to build that relationship. Thank you.
Okay.
And wait, Andy, just a question about VIA. Can you give us your thoughts and where you see that program going here in Jersey City?
I think the future of that program is a little bit uncertain. I think it's a tremendous value to our city, but obviously comes at a financial cost. And there's a lot of conversations happening right now about the city's finances. I do not envy the position those on the DS have about our city's finances. But certainly I think that will be part of those conversations. But I can say that program is incredibly critical and important to the hundreds of thousands of annual riders that use it. And we are looking to have a holistic conversation about how to approach that.
The one thing I just want to, I remember when your predecessor brought the VIA contract to the council. It was suggested to me at that time that the usage patterns of ridership patterns, that as a result of that we would be able to have access or that we would own that data from VIA. Whatever the future of VIA brings, I would just ask the administration and your office to look at that acquiring that ridership data, if you haven't already. And, the idea there was that there was opportunities for bus routes or things like that to be able to try to figure out the other alternative forms of transportation that data could prove helpful to. That was really the big selling point for me at that point for that, because I knew this was an expensive venture for us at that time.
And we do have that data. And as an engineer, I love data. So your point is well taken.
Just my last one is just a comment as well, which is we talked about the bike master plan. Thank you for discussing that with me. And when you have an opportunity, that as we talked about, there's sections dedicated to each ward in the bike master plan and identifying priority projects and just wanting to know which projects have been completed, which ones might be aborted, and then which ones are still under consideration, kind of moving forward. So when you have an opportunity, that's all.
Certainly, and I will note, the bike master plan is a planning document and a visionary document. And unfortunately, we don't have all of the money that we would want to start to build these or phase these out for construction. We are seeking a lot of grant funding to do that. So there are internal prioritizations, but it's also aligned to different funding and grant sources. But I'm happy to share with you the status of the different segments as originally envisioned and where we are today.
Thanks. Thank you, Andy.
All righty.
One thing to add. Thank you for our conversation and thank you that you are considering that reaching out to the community and listening to them, not just deciding what we want to do. Also working with neighborhood associations, different communities, reaching out to them. And it is very important for majority of us because we don't want to do what we feel is right. Rather, we would listen to them. So thank you. Thank you for the conversation we had.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. All right, Sean, that looks like everybody. We can take it from the top.
Now we have director.
Oh, Anise, yeah, you didn't fit. Why you? Oh, they were saving the best for last.
Respectful of everyone, all the other staff time. That's all. So I'm in front of you today for item 10.28. Would you like me to start with maybe a little background?
If you can, Leah, for me, if you can just give a brief background, one of just your experience with the work, and then two, if you can flip into what are your vision for the department moving forward? Should you be reappointed? And what are some of the challenges you have faced?
I would be happy to do that, council people. Thank you very much for having me and thank you for considering me to be reappointed as HUDC director. Just to give some background, I don't know how much all of you know about my background. I've lived in Jersey City for 20 years now. I'm raising 2 children here, children that I brought home from the hospital to my apartment on the same block as Tarico. Lucky me. Now the oldest is ready to go off to college. Somehow time went quite fast. My career has mostly been in the private sector, working in architecture firms. I volunteered my free time as a board member of a local neighborhood association. That was my kind of entry into getting involved in things here. I got involved in helping support our local schools. I was then given the opportunity to merge my work and personal life by joining the city as the director of city planning. That was in 2017. I then, about 18 months later, I became the HUDC director. The oversight of those at that time, it was 8 divisions. We now have 9. Used a wide array of my varied background. I studied architecture at the Cooper Union, and I worked for a firm where I helped design the training facilities for the fire department in Randall's Island in New York City, for the New York City Fire Department. I then went on to Harvard's Graduate School of Design, where I studied and received a Master of Architecture and Urban Design. And I specifically chose that program because their goal was to create leaders in the field. And after that, my career mostly focused on large-scale projects, things ranging from large-scale master plans, for example, the Bayonne Motby Terminal, you might be familiar with. It's the Peninsula. It was also called the Peninsula Bayonne Harbor. Facilities master plans for universities, medical schools, the master plan for Project City Center for MGM out in Las Vegas, transit-oriented development, such as leading a local demonstration project program of 18 projects the client was New Jersey Transit. It was through working with the NJTPA, the same company that, organization that Andy recently worked for. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I also have my national certification, which is a American Institute of Certified Planners, and I'm a lead AP. And so related to my vision, it really focuses on, aligning with what the mayor ran on and what the mayor's vision is, which is to help create an affordable city. I'm very focused on how to create affordable housing, increase the amount of affordable housing that we're building here in this city, and to build more at the lower AMI, at the lower price points. And I spoke about this a little bit in some of the meetings that I had with some of you, but I really want to also focus on governance and like what we do to carry out what you all or already has tasked us to do within the city ordinance. And I think that is also how I would talk about some of the challenges. I think that it can be extremely difficult. The ordinance is varied. It has a lot. I don't know if all of you are aware. So I have 9 divisions: Division of City Planning, Zoning, Construction Code, Affordable Housing. Those, I put them under like the land use category. That's how we get approvals, permit, build, and compliance for affordable housing, right? That's like building buildings. We also have economic development. We have commerce, housing preservation, community development, and then the latest office, tenants' right to counsel. The scope is wide, right? It covers an enormous amount of things. I think we have, over 100 processes that we've specifically cover that are just, actually application processes. And I think that over time, sometimes it can be a challenge to focus on governance rather than like kind of shiny new things and big ideas. I'm a big idea person. I love that side of things, but I feel like that's some of the challenges and where I'd like to focus with the department to do a better job is like, how do we meet the needs of our citizens? How do we show them that we can move all those things through the process in a maybe more expedited fashion and be a better place to do business, to, fix your home, whatever that may be. And so that's both, challenge for me as well as one of the challenges that I have. And the reasons are varied behind that, whether it's technology. When I came to the city, almost everything other than SDL was the portal for construction code was in paper. I spent the first, I think, 6 years trying to convince people we should have it, get money for it, and then build it, an integrated permit portal. The thought was things done at a block and lot level, right? What happens on an individual scale of a block of a specific lot should be in one system. We built that system. It's not perfect. It has its flaws, but it's for the first time we have a really good system. I offer to all of you or your aides training if you'd like to understand how to use it. And I just think that there's opportunities there to do things like that, to like see a problem in the department and then come up with solutions and propose them. So I would like to continue doing that.
Okay. Now, as it relates to, I've had issues with enforcement over the years. We talk about this vision of having a more affordable city. How do we, or what is your, I guess, commitment or way of making sure that, we're holding landlords accountable, mainly the landlords who are over the jurisdiction of having these affordable units, as it relates to one, the maintenance and upkeep of these things, to, the rules and regulations as it relates to the things they're supposed to be doing in these establishments. I know we've been having some issues with enforcement, and I think part of the issue with enforcement is on a municipal level capacity, right? How much capacity do we have to ensure that enforcement is met across the board? So I just want to get your take and your vision for how do we make sure landlords are in compliance, and how do we rectify this issue of enforcement?
So I would split that a bit. There are the buildings that are actual affordable housing. So if it's, meaning like there's an income restriction on the unit, like what AMI someone has to be at to be in that unit, those, if they're municipally mandated, that's covered by our Division of Affordable Housing. And I have full confidence in that office. They do affordable housing agreements for every single building that has a requirement. They do very detailed compliance, including annual recertifications. Those are usually newer buildings that have that. So I feel confident in those. There are other buildings in the city that I think you're referring to that might be, say, rent controlled, or, have some sort of restriction, but it's not exactly considered quote unquote affordable housing. It's not an income restriction, it's rent control. And so I think I agree with you that there are some challenges there. From the quality standpoint, like, the quality of the housing, are there issues in the building? That falls under quality of life division as part of public safety and their code compliance inspectors. We don't have that within HEDC, but we do have within the Division of Housing Preservation, we do keep a list of, we have the rental registries, we have the list of rent controlled buildings, and do the compliance on that side. And I do think that side has been, certainly it needs improvement. The mayor's recent press conference that announced the audit is hugely beneficial to me, because the biggest barrier we've had in that office is staffing. That office has very small amount of staff that are able to be focused on that tenant landlord side. It has one lead person and about 2, sometimes 3 people, and they're doing all of that, all the rental registrations, all of the follow-up on rent controlled units. And I think we've not done as good of a job as we should be doing, for sure. So and if I just step back a tiny bit, I don't remember the exact year, maybe it was 2019, a director was brought on, and that was the creation of the Division of Housing Preservation. Prior to that, it was a tenant landlord office. What we found were there were no prior records, like the records, there weren't records that were kept prior to that. So starting in, say, 2019, 2020, they've tried to build that record since then to get rental registrations, to figure out all the rent control buildings. And they really just didn't have the staff capacity to get through all of that. So this audit, I think, is a real opportunity for us to get a handle on it. And then I think the staff would be able to maintain it, but it's sorely needed. So I'm very appreciative, actually, of the audit.
Anyone else have any, but Tom and then
Director, good evening.
Yes.
We didn't have an opportunity to speak offline, but I appreciate that you reached out to me, and I apologize for not getting back to you sooner. But you mentioned big picture, and that's obviously something that Journal Square is embodying now. And the big picture I envision is planning now for the next 10 to 20 years of Journal Square as an economic driver for Jersey City, but also mixing in a lot of complicated aspects, mandatory affordable housing with the need for more housing. Obviously, we're having a lot of development there, focusing on retail, green space. How do you see your role and us working together, me specifically, but also with the rest of the council, trying to ensure that we plan now for that future, so that it's a Journal Square that works for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I think Journal Square is a great example. I mean, the fact that we have the 2060 plan at all is really an excellent thing. The scale of it, right? It's our physically largest, I believe. Liberty Harbor is pretty large too, but it's a very large redevelopment plan. It certainly covers more buildings than any other plan. And I think that's one step in that direction. We're able to look at it more comprehensively. I mean, I do try to leave the direct planning work to the Division of City Planning, because that is their role. But being a planner, I can't help but, kind of stick my nose into it a lot and certainly give opinions. I think we need to look at it. I think there's there are plans throughout the city in general that I think we have to identify that need our attention. I think it's always an issue of priority, like where do we put our time? Where do we put our attention? I mean, I've thought a lot about city planning, as you can imagine, since that was my entry point into this city. And one thing that I think is really lacking, and I proposed over the years, but it's been a challenge to do related to funding, is I would like to see us do more community planning, or sometimes it's called neighborhood planning or vision planning, which the way I conceive of that is different from what we do now. A lot of our current planning is reactionary, right? Like a developer proposes something and then we have to see what we think about that. If you do true community planning, you do processes with a community, you define what that area is. You can even allow the community to, in general, throughout the whole city, to make suggestions of areas that they want us to work on, and you assign a few staff planners and that's all they work on. And I think that that would help break some of the tension between planners that are working on applications, right? Applications for the planning board or the zoning board, as opposed to just working directly with the community to do forward-thinking, proactive planning that sets vision. And then when a proposal comes to the city, we'll be able to point to it and say, hey, here's our plan that we did with this community. This is what they're looking for. And it would be done in conjunction, of course. So our staff would be the professionals who also have the comments that are in our current land use master plan or open space master plan to incorporate and would always look at the transportation master plan, for example, and would look at all of that comprehensively. So I think I would love to be able to do that. We try to do that the best we can with the staff we have, but right now the staff we have staff that do everything.
Hi, Director Chilone. Did I say that right?
It's complicated. Chilone is the way to
Chilone,
say it,
okay,
yeah.
all right. Appreciate the conversation last week and also your proactive reaching out to our office. We met with Historic Preservation and the JCRA and planning and zoning in general, so appreciate that. And I was looking at your resume. You talked about how your entry point into public service, that you became active in your neighborhood association. And I didn't know that. That's a cool fact.
We did new development oversight for Harsmith Cove.
Gotcha. Yes. And part of my entry point into Jersey City politics was as a rent control tenant and experiencing going through the system, significant lag times, and then a recalcitrant landlord who would not obey the ruling of the Office of Landlord Tenant. So given that the new administration has this new rent control audit, could you speak to kind of your vision for the Division of Housing Preservation, kind of how that dovetails with what the new administration has set out to do with auditing all rent control buildings?
Yeah, I think the audit's going to give us an opportunity that we really haven't had thus far. We'll be able to have a full listing of all rent controlled units. We'll be able to map those in GIS and have them available, publicly available. It's something very important to me since I've been here, has been all about trying to create more and more opportunities for information to be transparently available to the public without needing to file an Oprah request. So this is just a detour, like the permit portal is one example of that. The interactive zoning map, the interactive development map, like any opportunity that I can find to put stuff out there where they have access. We've tried to do that. So I think that would be an opportunity we can do that. It'll also give us a better sense of, we'll know at that point, how many rental registries are behind on. Like we know we don't have 100% participation, but that is part of my vision. I'd like 100% participation on the rental registries, and we'll be able to have a better sense of where, in what instances, rents are not being charged at the correct amounts. One thing that I would say has been a barrier to that stuff, other than staffing, is we need better communication and coordination with the court system. We've had a lot of issues, not even just with how, rent control in any of our offices that write a violation, with how those get carried through. Like our purpose is, what we're allowed to do is write either the violation or the summons, but then it stops there. We give the discovery to the municipal prosecutor's office, but we're not involved in what happens, like subsequently. We do follow up and things like that, but what happens when it goes in front of the courts is not something that we have a say in. And I think there's an opportunity there to hopefully, with the administration, like work with the municipal prosecutor's office, work with the courts where we're not seeing action. One of our biggest challenges has been they often issue fines, so people will get a fine. But what we're, at least in my department, what we're usually looking for is abatement, right? We want them to fix, cure. We want something to be cured, whatever the issue is, whether it's a zoning issue or whether it's the rent control issue, not just solve the case, get a fine and move on. And I don't know enough about how that process works to be able to understand what that barrier is. But I think for us to do what you're asking, we're going to have to confront what happens after we write the violation.
Thank you. And then I know you said you have 9 divisions under
Yes.
your department. The division of right to counsel would be the 10th.
No, that's the 9th. I had 8 historically, and then that one is as the 9th, which, as the councilman pointed out earlier, is kind of a ghost division, but we're working on it.
Okay, thank you.
It had a director. That director currently is in the law department, but he's still overseeing it. We have an ad out. If anyone knows of anyone that's qualified for that position, we are actively searching for a person. A little plug.
A lot of people are listening online.
People who are qualified, please.
Is the requirement to be an attorney?
It is the current requirement in the ordinance and in the job description. We have had some discussions. I would need to speak, a little bit more to the mayor's office. If we're really finding a hard time finding an attorney, having a hard time finding an attorney, we could make it more of a grant manager because we are currently passing the on the responsibility. We're giving money to outside company. So we're giving it to Waterfront Project, a nonprofit, to carry that out. I know that's not the vision though for that. We did want to have an actual attorney and be able to handle some of it in-house. That's why we kept it with that requirement, but we have had a hard time.
Just a question on that issue, actually. There are other towns that have the tenant advocate model overseeing litigation, and then they hire outside counsel the way our city does for a variety of legal issues. Has any thought been given to that? So it would, the funding would be there in the same structure, and there'd be one or multiple law firms available to represent tenants on an.
That's what we're doing now. We gave it to the Waterfront Project as a nonprofit, and their attorneys represent it, but I would absolutely be interested to talk to you and in other ideas. If we have to come up with an alternative, we need to be open to it.
Yeah, and I love the Waterfront Project, but they're woefully understaffed too. So I think,
They're getting some money for us to hopefully hire more people. And if we could work on long-term planning with them, like if they do have enough staff and they know they had X amount of income stream coming from us, that could be one idea. But we're open. I mean, to I know that this program is very important to the mayor. We're open to any way to try to solve the problem.
Lane.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at what Union City does. Obviously a smaller scale, but I'm not sure there's another town that's a county that focuses on the tenant rights as fiercely as Union City does. So it's a model to look
I'll
at.
look at their model. Thank you.
Lane.
Is everyone done?
And me? Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Director Chalone. Thank you so much for being here. I did have a few questions that were brought to me by constituents, but before I begin, I will note that, I've had the pleasure of working with you on a number of things over the years, and I, have known you to be nothing but professional, and, particularly, I think you've been really instrumental in getting the embankment project to where it's at today. So I do want to thank you for your work on that. But I do have a few questions that were raised by constituents. Sure. So you talked a little bit more about there's not 100% compliance with the rent registrations from the landlords in the city, and they are supposed to file these annual rent registrations with your office, and which would show the rent charge for each unit each year, and then your office it sounds like you currently do, when you have that data, you use it to identify unauthorized increases and pursue the mandatory fines that the council established in ordinance 25-105, but you're encountering some issues or have encountered some issues with the municipal prosecutor kind of following through. Is that an accurate?
Yeah, I would recommend if we want to dig into it a bit more, we should sit with Director Richardson and go through it. But that is my understanding that there are some challenges there. And in terms of the where we don't have the filing, we don't have a registration, we do issue summons on those to try to get participation. So that is the intent. And I think we can, I think that office has been directed to do that aggressively because we need 100% participation.
Okay, great, thank you. And what would it take, in your opinion, for Jersey City to achieve 100% compliance with this, and for your office and the municipal prosecutor to be able to issue these fines? And do you have a ballpark idea of how much uncollected fines that we should be collecting but have not been collecting?
I mean, I'm not saying they're not collecting it. They certainly might be collecting it, when it winds up at the stage of the court. But I do think that there are not just fines, but in terms of annual registries, there's probably a significant amount of money if we had 100% participation that we could be collecting. I think the details of how many units or what we're short, I think I would need to look into it further, but we could sit down and do that. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there to go a lot further. I think this audit is very exciting to me because it's a real opportunity to finally close that gap.
Okay, great. Right, because obviously the fiscal crisis we are in, we could certainly use the fines.
And we'll be able to go through it so much faster than we ever would doing it the way we're doing it now, which is incremental, right? So it's just so slow that this will allow us to leap forward.
Great, thank you. And then also, so tenants in many cases have filed complaints with the Division of Housing Preservation, and in the cases where they don't receive a response, what recourse do they have? Does Ordinance 260 give them any way to get relief on their own, like to begin deducting overcharges from their rents? Without, if they are not receiving a response from the Division of Housing Preservation?
I wouldn't want to speak to legally what they're allowed to do, or give them any advice of what to do regarding paying their rent. But I mean, if they're not getting a response from Division of Housing Preservation, I would act, and in any instance across any of the divisions, I do actively recommend they reach out to my office. We need to know if that's happening, and we would be pushing them. I mean, I have pushed them in the past to try to answer the tenant petitions faster than the building owner petitions, which I know was a concern at one point, and it just had to do with the way the staffing was allocated, and I brought that concern to the director and asked for a change. So if that's happening, I would work with the division to try to do better. I have to advocate for more staff on that line. That would certainly help. We lost a spot on that line there were some layoffs done a few months back. We lost a staff member specifically from that line, and someone that was reviewing some tenant petitions. So there's been some challenges, and they kind of all fit into this larger box of some of the challenges we all have financially as a city. But I think your point is well taken. There are certain things we could do to even bring in more revenue, then that would make it easier to probably keep it staffed.
Okay, thank you. And I know, there are over 1,000 tenants just in Portside Towers, and they have been filing a number of petitions, violation reports, things like that. They copy me on all of them too. So I know, we all get them. And my question is, have any tenants in Portside received a rent adjustment, or is this part of an ongoing process, or has anyone received a refund? Because it does seem like there are a number of violations there, and it just.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you that they have, or that Equity is working with us, but my understanding is all of that wound up in this federal lawsuit, and they unfortunately are not abiding by any of the things that the city is telling them, not by the rent leveling board's decision, not by any of the violations issued. They are continuing to charge people the rents that they're not supposed to be charging them.
So what recourse does the city have in that?
You know, that project in particular is, a lot of it has been moved to the law department. What we have been doing are where the tenants have let us know of the continued violation of, say, other things, not the rent control side of the other things, we have continued to issue those violations. I also get those emails. I didn't start getting them to, I think it was day 304. I'm not sure why, but once, as soon, even the first email that I saw, you know, we followed up on, they made some claims about some construction code stuff, and they had added the DCA. We followed up on all of that immediately. There were some issues about the superintendent, on-site superintendent. Chiron, Director Richardson tells me that they filed the paperwork that showed what unit it's in, and the superintendent that's on site. But any of the other ones, there were violations written for those. So it gets a little tricky because the issues of the actual rent control are in the court cases. So I know early on when all of that was happening, I immediately had Director Richardson work with the corporation counsel at the time to get advice on how to handle it, because there was no, you know, we were not receiving any sort of cooperation from the building owner.
Can I ask?
Can I jump in?
Hold on, you finished, Lena?
I have one final question. I'm so sorry. So, you know, I've known you to be nothing but professional in my time working with you, and I appreciate that. So this should hopefully be a very easy question for you to answer. But you know, some constituents have raised the issue to me that your husband is also an architect and he has his own architecture firm. And my question is, have you recused yourself from all matters involving his projects in Jersey City, and will you continue to recuse yourself?
Yeah, that is easy to answer. First of all, there's barely been any that have come in front of any board here in the city. I think only 3 instances in the last 9 years. And the staff all knows that anything related to him that I won't, you know, I'm not involved in. I'm really not involved in an application level anyway, in all projects. So that's pretty easy. And early on, we contacted DCA on how to handle, the situation, and they asked us to have anything of his that winds up in construction, though he doesn't oversee the construction, he's just the architect. Still, all of that is permitted and inspected by Hoboken, so it's completely out of Jersey City's hands. Jersey City processes it, but Hoboken, looks at it from a code review standpoint and does the inspections, so it's getting double looks. So I absolutely 100% recuse myself from anything related to him. And it's never been an issue in-house. There is the one project that's probably causing that question is really a neighbor-to-neighbor conflict. And I believe that no matter who was the architect, that conflict would still exist. And it's just a convenient excuse, but it really has nothing to do with him.
Okay, thank you. That was my last question. Yes. Sorry.
Rolanda was there, but she said she have a quick question.
Just a very quick question about Portside Towers developer. What authority city has in terms of that developer when decide to develop more buildings? Do we have any authority over?
They're an owner. They have never developed a building here in Jersey City, as far as I'm aware. I think they're just a building owner. They didn't develop that building either. I believe they purchased it from the person. So I have no contact with them.
Rolanda?
That would make actually our lives a lot easier.
I know.
I think we'd have leverage.
Spend them in.
Okay, good. All right. Hi, Director.
Hello, Council.
Look, I had a productive 2-hour conversation with you last Friday. Thank you for your time.
Of course.
It gave me a clearer picture of HEDC and your work there. and I just have some questions I want to put on the public record. So Director, you were interviewed in an article published in Vital City in September 2025. The story addressed Jersey City's housing boom and the rising housing costs, with median market rate rents having increased between 50% between 2015 and 2024. In response to the rising costs, you said, and I'm quoting you directly from that story, "We hear the concerns of the residents. It's hard to see how much we build and still see the prices where they are." The article described the department and the city as maintaining a broadly pro-development posture with permissive zoning and a planning process geared towards efficiency and speed. You described your relationship with developers as, again, quoting you directly, "We meet with them, we talk with them, we work together." And in that same story, Mayor Solomon, as a councilman and a candidate for mayor, said Jersey City did, quote, "a poor job maximizing the public benefit of that development, leveraging that development for affordable housing." We talked about the affordable housing being his priority and mine as well. Since 2010, roughly 30,000 units were built in Jersey City and fewer than 500 qualify as affordable. You've heard the concerns, you saw the prices increase, and so my question is, what specifically did HEDC do differently when they saw these trends that you were hearing and seeing at the time? And why should this council believe that the next 4 years will produce a different result?
Sure. No, there's a clear way to address that. One thing that I think it's often hard for the public to understand is if there is zoning in place anywhere in the city, which often could be from, as far back maybe as the 80s, someone has a right, this is, a right within the US Constitution to buy a piece of land and develop what the existing zoning is on that site. And so if years ago, a lot of zoning was given out, maybe they were allowed to build towers, for example, they're allowed to continue to build those projects. So we often are working with the legacy of a history of what happened through the 90s, from the early 2000s, and that's what you're seeing built. Every time you see a building built that has zero affordable housing, that's the story. It's not because we allowed them to do that. It's because they had zoning in place that allowed them to do that. They're allowed to file an application to the planning board if they're not asking for any sort of a change, and they get to build that project. I think that is very difficult. I think it's difficult for all of us. What I have done is recognize in any instance where, especially where there is someone's asking for something where it's discretionary. So usually that's a zoning change, for example. We started negotiating community benefits into those projects. We started negotiating affordable housing into those projects. And then over time, we solidified those with the inclusionary zoning ordinance that solidified percentages in different parts of the city. Then we went further than that and we developed the affordable housing overlay. And what that did was say, you have a certain envelope you're allowed to build, like a box, but maybe you can't, with the density allowed, maybe you can't fill that box completely. We allow them as of right to go straight to the planning board without a zoning change to fill the box in exchange for affordable housing. The same percentages and the same, the same zone map as the IZO. There also was, when I came in, there was very little to no oversight on the existing affordable housing that was being built that didn't have external subsidy, right? So if it didn't have someone else's money, when I first got here, I was still in city planning at the time. We were sometimes negotiating, the boards, not staff, at the board level, say in a zoning board application, they might negotiate a few units. We were trying to follow up on where those, whose oversight were there for those units, who was making sure that they were building them, who was making sure they were occupying them. And what we quickly found is there was very few of that oversight, only if there was a pilot in place. So that oversight was under Office of Tax Abatement and Compliance, sometimes called OTAC. They had 54 units that when we, so I created the Division of Affordable Housing specifically to solve that, for that gap. They had 54 units when they handed it over from OTAC to Division of Affordable Housing, and now they have 2,000 units in their portfolio. Those were all, created and oversight by them. So I recognize that gap, but the way that we do that is through working on policies all together with the mayor and the council to try to find ways to go. Maybe we've been working with Fair Share. We need to find ways to capture more affordable housing, but it is tricky in plans that are old. Plans that are old that have a lot of density already built into them. It's very hard to capture it.
Thank you. So I just want to follow up because you mentioned the IZO. Right? So obviously that was a big,
You were involved.
yeah, and area that I'm passionate about and just wanted to see more affordability. When we met on Friday, you expressed some, I would characterize, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but some skepticism about whether a 20% IZ inclusionary zoning ordinance was achievable. There's the legal questions, but there's also the fiscal issues about trying to achieve that, and that it could slow development or cause problems around that. Mayor Solomon and I ran on a 20% as a commitment, as a floor. And so when you are in a room with developers and it's the deputy mayor, finance, JCRA, mayor's office, and you're talking about a development project, my question is, are you going to be the person arguing for the 20% floor and figuring out how to make it work? Or are you going to be the person urging caution and trying to figure out how to make, finding other ways that can accommodate the development of the project and getting it done?
On every single project, usually we don't look at the project finances in detail unless it's asking for a pilot in front of the council. But in every project that we do that, we push it to the limit, and we try to push projects to get the most for our citizens. And if it's not something where we're looking specifically at the finances, it might be something where we're negotiating some other aspect. We're always trying to get the most out of it for our citizens. The policy decision as to what percentage if we change the IZO or not, I'll leave those decisions up to the mayor and the council. But if that's the decision to do 20% across the board, we will do 20% across the board. But it will, I think my concern that I brought up on Friday is that will mean that all of those projects will be coming in front of you to ask for a pilot. So I wouldn't be doing my professional duty if I don't tell you that ahead of time. That's not skepticism. That's me understanding the financial realities of projects. That doesn't mean we can't do that. We'll do what the council and the mayor decide. You all set the policy. I carry it out, and I'm very aligned with the mayor's goals, and I will carry out all of his policies.
I think, Tom, you wanted to ask something else before, I don't want to monopolize.
I think Mike was.
Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, just one quick question. Since Portside came up, obviously there are certain aspects of it that are in the realm of the lawsuit, specifically whether the units are rent controlled or not, right? That's part of the litigation. Portside comes to the meetings for at least 2.5 years, right? 4 years, right? Excuse me, 4 years. And certainly in the last 2 months that I've been on this council, and they bring up, each of the residents brings up a different issue that they filed a complaint about. Can we get a report from Director Richardson? Because obviously the complaint either exists or it doesn't exist, right? And I want to be better equipped while I'm listening to the public comment to respond to it and know what the city is doing. If we can get that report, please.
Absolutely. And my understanding is you guys are have a committee that's looking more detail, and we welcome that. We will work with the committee. We'll share any information that we have.
Okay. Yeah, Michael.
So my question is regarding the security of how developers are securing their development projects. Perfect example in Councilman Zupa's ward on Cottage Street. There's a project being built, and the gate that's protecting the project, it's like it comes out. It's like halfway in the street, where you could barely drive a car down. So I don't even want to know what happened up there during a snowstorm. Because I'm pretty sure we were getting calls, or DPW were getting calls, or Stu was out there doing something. But but they're like, it's almost like this recklessness, right? And there's no, like, things are being done without considering the neighbors, right? People are literally driving up on the sidewalk. People are on the sidewalk almost getting hit by cars. That's how far the gate is out, because people are driving and the car's like halfway on the side. It's, I mean, these guys are, I mean, I would hope that we can, you know, do an audit of all the developments being built now currently, and get these developers to do the right thing and make sure that they're secured properly, and that they're taking into consideration that they're not the only ones on the block.
We agree with you. We require every project to do, we have a site safety manual, and where they have a site safety plan. And often we have to send inspectors to sites to, get them to change what they're doing. It is a huge challenge of having so many projects under construction at once in the city. And we commit with any of you, if you see a site like that, and if isn't something that we've already caught, let us know. We always send an inspector out. We usually have at least one working on a Saturday. Again, we have some staffing challenges there. It's not openings, but there's not a ton of openings, but it's just tight staff. So they're mostly going to assigned inspections. We don't have any inspector that's assigned as like a rover. We just don't have enough inspectors for that, but we always respond if anyone tells us. And if the inspectors see anything on their way to an inspection, they will stop and issue violations, or the construction code official will call a job site or have an inspector that's been inspecting that job site call and complain to the super. That is a common thing in this city.
And I just want to say, like, yeah, they're really bad, right? And so we do have to get control of this. I remember there was a project being developed on Baldwin Avenue, Journal Square, and the crane was swinging back and forth. I'll say last month, a friend of mine who lives in Journal Square called me because debris was flying off of a building that's being constructed. So, the developers, they're really not caring. That's what's happening. That's the honest truth. And then we have developers with approved projects who haven't started building yet, and their lots are a total disaster. Their fences are falling down. I just got a note today from a constituent, and I reached out to the developer and I let him know, like, please take care of this. And so, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed with these developers. If they don't want to take pride, then they shouldn't come here and build here and charge all this money for rent.
There is many a time that we do shut job sites down, especially for, say, improper crane usage or something like that. But I mean, you're saying stuff that is true. I mean, it happens. It's hard to withhold if they have approved projects. Like, we don't really always have the ability by law to withhold, but we certainly can call them, we can give them a hard time, and we can shut job sites down.
And one last question, I'm sorry. Is there a limit on approvals? Like, if I'm approved, so there's no limit.
Oh,
So
like
I can get approved and build 20 years later?
No, sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Okay.
No, approvals do have a time frame. Most of them is 2 years, and they
Oh,
have
2
to get
years.
back to the board and do ask for an extension. It could be a 2-year extension. Sometimes it's a 1-year extension, but it's 2 years is the standard, and then they have to come back.
Okay, so if anything changes, let's say they have a project, and it expires, and now the community that they were looking to build in becomes an IZO zone, do they have to
Um,
So
adhere to
if the
that?
zoning, so yes, that is actually the value of why people often go and get approvals, because they're protected from any zoning changes. When if an approval expires, then yes, zoning changes can happen while it's expired. Usually people do ask to, to re-up them. They go in front of the board, and that's at the board's discretion. That doesn't have to do with me. It's our, people that are on the planning board. But if they do expire, absolutely, zoning can change. And if, say, zoning changed, in the years while they still had their approval, that is then the current zoning. And if they'd have to file a new application, they have to have that new application work with the current zoning. So yes, absolutely.
Director, I know you briefly spoke about some form of disconnect between the prosecutor's office and Director Richardson's landlord tenant office. But what about the communication as it relates to landlord tenant and the inspectors, seeing that they're under the same umbrella? So I guess my question is, as it relates to all of the divisions under you, the ones that work in similar spaces, like how does that communication filters in? How does that communication look?
So just to clarify, the inspectors are not under me. That's one of the challenges. The inspectors are under the Quality of Life Division, which is part of Code Compliance Office, which is part of Public Safety.
Wait, I'm talking about Joe Barrow, that part of the inspector. That's under Quality of Life?
Public Safety, yeah. It's the Public Safety Division of Quality of Life, Office of Code Compliance. Joe Barrow runs that. Years ago, he was one of my he was an inspector for us in Commerce, but he hasn't worked for me for many years. It's separate.
Okay, strike that question then, because it's.
But within our divisions in general, the directors have very good rapport with each other. I've worked really hard to foster that. We have meetings together. They feel really comfortable speaking with each other. I definitely celebrate and expect them to speak to each other and have cross communication wherever possible. They all have very good relationships with each other.
Now, as it relates to Port Side again, if we, well, first of all, our rent leveling board deemed it was affordable, granted that it is in court, but our position remains what it is. And I don't know if this is a better question for legal. How can we, or can we, what can we do as it relates to rent receivership? Because I'm of the opinion that the only way certain people or entities listen is when you hit them in the pocket. So if our position is, right, that these are rent control because that's what we determine, now you can challenge it all you want, but this is our position. So one, are we within our rights to be a rent receiver? Help me understand that legal, or if you can.
I can only answer that, yes, you are correct. The project went in front of the rent leveling board. The rent leveling board agreed that it should be in rent control. That is the city's position. What happened after that, I don't know. And I'm sorry, I would have to ask.
Do we embark on that journey as a municipality? Is that something that we can do? Is it a gray area, or?
We can get you a memo on that.
Okay. Because I think that's one of the big reasons. I just know that, my research tells me that this is why fines are associated with breaking the law, right? It's a deterrent to not do it again, not to only pay for breaking it, but it's a deterrent not to do it again. And subsequently, it's in the message to the other bad actors, hey, don't do that because this is the consequence. So I wanted to see if we can somehow do something about that. Again, without trying to overstep our authorities. We understand, there's lawsuits pending and we don't want to, infringe upon that. But I just want to make sure from a municipal perspective as a council, we're doing everything at our disposal, because to be truthfully blunt and truthfully honest, this Port Side stuff has been like literally a pain in my backside for like four years. And it's a pain in a sense, not that they constantly keep coming expressing their concerns. It's a pain for me to hear concern and go and witness it. That's what hurts the most.
I think we all agree that with that. I think it's painful to see that it's still going on and that we've had limited ability to do anything about it. My understanding, I mean, I'll wait for the legal memo. My understanding is we did sue, I believe, equity due to them not listening to, you know, I mean, that's the tool, right? When someone doesn't, when the city tells someone you're violating our rules, you can issue a violation, you can issue a summons. If it goes further than that, the other tool we have is, you know, a lawsuit. And I believe all, you know, all of that has happened and all of that is active.
I mean,
have,
because, hold on, Rolando, I have another question. Yeah, Rolando.
I actually have 3 more questions, but
How many?
3.
No, okay, this is the time to ask
I was
questions.
just saying, if there are other people, I want to make sure I
Yeah, because
share the time. So,
I'm gonna ask for.
Director, again, when we met on Friday, you committed in that conversation to full cooperation, taking you back to the rent protection stuff. Full cooperation with the Rent Protection Special Investigation Committee, including timely document production and access to your department's leadership. I just want to give you the opportunity to reaffirm that commitment publicly and on the record today. So,
Yeah, that's easy, of course. Whatever you all need, we'd like to help get to the bottom of it.
thank you. My second question is, when we met, you indicated that you supported the zoning board's approval of the Albion Hotel. That was a project that was approved at nearly double the allowable height over the objection of 5 neighborhood associations and then Councilman Solomon. How do you reconcile that position with the planning philosophy you intend to bring to this role under this administration?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I'm extremely supportive of community participation and neighborhood associations and their opinion. You know, in most instances, that informs our position. Absolutely. In that instance, we did feel that that was a relevant project and a good location for that type of project. I mean, it meets the criteria for what you would want on your commercial corridor, a block from a PATH station. It's a hotel. I believe it's eight stories. I don't know. I don't remember the exact details, but it's within the realm of something that made sense. It's a rare instances, but there are instances where our professional opinion may differ from the communities. That happens to be one. Luckily, that hasn't happened very, very often, in my opinion. I prefer it when we're all aligned. In that instance, I didn't actually, that you were asking my opinion, I was giving my professional opinion, but I didn't weigh in on it. I wasn't involved in it. It was a board decision. I don't ever speak to the board members about any of the applications. That was just my personal opinion. And it was my understanding of the professionals in city planning's opinion. But you know, in the end of the day, the board gets to make that decision and not any of us individually.
Director Marion, the Director of Planning, serves both, as I understand it, serves as Director of Planning and I think the Acting Director.
Director of Zoning, correct.
So city planning makes policy and zoning enforces it. And one resident and land use professional has told me that having one person in both roles creates an inherent conflict, particularly when zoning appeals from her decisions as a zoning officer go before a board whose staff reports to her through City Planning Division. What's your view on that dual role moving forward? And do you intend to separate or have separate leadership?
I mean, I would prefer if we had a zoning officer that was separate and then had the director of city planning. I don't think the zoning officer has to necessarily be the administrative head of the division of zoning. But it's really important to me that the zoning administrator as well as zoning official and the city planning staff have a good relationship. City planning writes the zoning, obviously approved by you all. They understand the intent, what they wrote, why they wrote it the way they wrote it. I think that we're looking for cooperation between those offices. So I actually think her serving as the zoning officer, zoning official, and making determinations on how to interpret the zoning that her office or, you know, people in the office prior to her working there wrote makes a lot of sense. It makes a sense to have the person interpreting the chapter 345, which is our zoning ordinance, be a professional planner. That's what's professional planner and or architect engineer, someone with a professional background, ideally a professional planner. So that's the way it had to be now, due to staffing. Someone left. That was the way I decided to do it. I do have concepts in mind long term of how to work with those offices, but I think that the conflict is made out to be more than it is. It's rare that something gets appealed to the zoning board, and in the end of the day, if the zoning board is going to make their determination, Tanya understands enough to not insert herself into the staff review of a project that is in appeal or in a decision that's in appeal. That it's very rare for that to happen, and it has not been an issue. So, but I do think long term it would be better if we could separate the roles.
And one last question. This is pretty much similar to the first question I asked. I'm just going to be more direct, right? So, Mayor Solomon and I, we both ran specifically against the record of the previous mayor and your department in that sense, and the results produced there, the record that you built there. And so my question is, why should residents voted for radical change trust that you are the right person to deliver that moving forward?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I think the clearest answer to that is that I have never been and will never be political. I've never attended or donated to any campaign of any of yours to Mayor Solomon. I'm a professional first. I serve the person who I work for, and they set the policy. I have no doubt that I have the ability to carry out Mayor Solomon's vision for this city. I believe he believes that, and that's why I'm in front of you today. And he worked with me many times as the ward council person, which often was in conflict with policies and with the prior administration. And he saw that in the end of the day, every project that I sat in a meeting on, I was fighting for the people of this city. And I think that our ideas for the city are very aligned. And I think that I have the professional background and experience to execute his vision.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, I have one last question. So, we met earlier, me, you and Councilman Gilmore, and I would just like you to explain to my colleagues what you explained to me and Councilman Gilmore regarding the grants and how they become, how they reach the agenda last minute and how we can potentially change that.
Yeah, so we did speak about that. I do think that that's something we need to change. That's we were talking about what things that I think we'd like to work on in the department. Those decisions are made. It's a long process before something makes it to you all. There's a plan that's done about what the priorities are and what the city's trying to work on. Then there's open application rounds for every single grant. He is talking about community development, the grants within community development. There's open application rounds for each one of those. The applications are received. They're reviewed by staff. We were given all of the details. There's recommendations made. There's meetings with, in this case, it would be the Deputy Mayor Padar, and the mayor. We would go through everything that came in. Decisions are made about what projects, usually based on track record, like who's been successful at delivering results, and then it makes it all to you all. There are instances where either maybe something didn't go well on one of those grants, somebody didn't follow the rules properly, or something changed and something didn't go through, and then we have to pivot and make a change from the plan that we had so carefully laid out in many, many steps. And that's usually what's happening when something's coming from in front of you all and we're, in this tight deadline. It's an unfortunate thing. It would be great if we could eliminate that and not have that happen. And I think we're not out of the woods yet. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of stuff coming within the next few months, but you have my commitment that I will work hard with that office to try to wrap out a very clear process with this mayor and Deputy Mayor Padar, and we will we will try to do a better job to not have that happen as often. I feel confident that we can do that here. I know there's been a big desire in the past to try to spend a lot of money on city projects, and I think that will probably continue, considering the current budget situation. It's very onerous. Sometimes the paperwork required to take federal money, both internally to the city. When the city gets money, just so people understand, like say Department of Infrastructure is going to apply for some money, or DPW is going to apply for money to do something, right? Pave streets, plant trees, curb extensions. They have to be an applicant to us, because they can't have Division of Community Development, the funder, and the applicant at the same time. So they have to be an applicant, and they have to do all the same things that we require the nonprofits to do when they're applying. And I think the paperwork has been onerous in the past. So I identified that right away as soon as the new mayor's administration came in, and tried to look for ways. We're working with the grants office. We're trying to look for ways that we can support that paperwork not being as onerous. I mean, it's still going to be onerous. It's just a question of, can we help with filling it out, or supporting with training on how to do it. So I do hope that we can do a better job, but I mean, I'm cautioning that I don't think we're out of the woods yet. I do expect in the next few months there will be more, because we do actually have quite a bit of funding that we need to spend,
All
which is,
right.
I guess, a good thing.
Thank you.
All right, Director, thank you. As Sean, we can, yeah, that's good. I guess we could take it from the top, whatever is left over for the.
Thank you, Director.
Item 3.1 was touched on earlier. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 26-018, is an ordinance amending Chapter 53 Personnel, Article 11, Fixed Salaries, to modify fixed salaries for certain employees.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. I appreciate administration reaching out to us and checking in about this beforehand. I just have one more question. So to clarify, if we set something in, if we set director salaries, or if the administration sets director salaries for which the budget does not appropriate, that's going to have to come back to city council eventually to have that money be appropriated for a potential increase in a director salary. I just want to understand what would happen if the council chose not to appropriate the budget for an increased director salary. What would the kind of process or consequence be there?
Are you referring to a temporary budget, or is it only in a temporary budget where we have to go before the council to reappropriate or change anything for that?
My understanding was that if, let's say we pass the 2026 budget, and then later in the year, the administration chose to increase one of the director's salaries by however much, that the next year we would have to then appropriate for that amount in order for that increase to start actually kicking in. That was my understanding from what the administration had explained to me.
I don't know if that's
Is that not the case?
entirely correct. No.
Right. All right.
But I would state that, there's two parts to this. One, the administration already committed to anytime they're going to change a salary, they will apprise the council in writing with the explanation and the rationale for why they would do that. And again, this applies to the directors, the people listed in the fixed ordinance. So one, the administration already committed to that. Two, ultimately the council approves the budgets. So you would have to see eventually what was done, what was changed, et cetera, when you vote on the budgets, whether it be a temporary budget, or whether it be the final budget for adoption, that all gets presented to the council. So I guess what I would try to say is the council can't override changes like that, but they get to see the changes. But again, this administration is not trying to hide anything. So they committed to, before any of those changes be made, they'd also send you a letter if there were to be any proposed changes, indicating what salaries would be changed for the directors, why it would be changed, explain the whole rationale ahead of time.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the explanation.
All right, Sean, next one.
Oh, sorry. Council Pro Tem. Similar question. Peter, is there a line item breakdown of the budget, the temporary budget, the same way we're going to get when we go through our budget hearings? Like, for example, Department of Rec, enrichment, salary and wages. They have two numbers here. Is there a breakdown of what this number is going to? I should have asked you earlier. I
Yeah,
apologize.
this is not the salary ordinance, I'm guessing, correct?
Yeah,
About the ETA.
right.
We have a very detailed budget analysis where we look at line by line for contracts and different budget lines. I believe we can make that available to you. I just have to confirm the finance department.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right, next, Sean.
Okay, item 4.1, City Ordinance 26-015 is an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting amendments to the Powerhouse Arts District redevelopment plan.
Any questions? None.
4.2 was touched on earlier. We have our speakers list at 41. Any questions or comments on petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.29?
Can I have a copy of 6.2 and 6.11, please?
Sure.
I would also like a copy of 611.
When one council asks for,
That's all.
I'm going to send it to everybody.
What else?
Got it.
Let's copy, Sean.
What was that?
No, next.
No officer communications. Any questions or comments on report of directors 8.1 through 8.3? We have our claims and addendums number 1 and 2.
Quick question there. On page 32, can someone tell me what department that is? It's at the very bottom of page 32. It's under, it's gotta be claimed for the purchasing order one.
The department Porsche,
Yeah,
it's the lead program in the HHS. The name of the program. It's not a vehicle.
no, I didn't think we had a luxury fleet all of a
Just
sudden.
making
I
sure.
wasn't sure what department that was.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's HHS. It's the lead program.
We were purchasing Porsches. Oh, never mind. Anyway, on to our resolutions. Item 10.1, which touched on earlier. Item 10.2, Resolution 26-123 is a resolution of the Municipal Council authorizing the cancellation of real estate taxes on Block 6005, Lot 2 on the tax map of the City of Jersey City, also known as Gateway Park Plaza, as the property was acquired by the City of Jersey City. Items 10.3 through 10.13 were touched on earlier. Item 10.14, City Ordinance 26-135 is a resolution ratifying an award of a contract to Noble Systems Incorporated for the automatic impound management system software for the car impound through the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative for the Department of Public Safety Traffic Unit. Items 10.15 through 17 were touched on earlier. Item 10.18, City Resolution 26-139 is a resolution approving a list of qualified firms to perform various legal services for the City of Jersey City pursuant to a request for qualifications.
Just to clarify for us, Sarah, what the RFQ is here and what it means.
Sure. To clarify, this resolution does not do anything. It is just a formality. It basically memorializes the firms that responded to our RFQ, our request for quotes. So it's just a transparency initiative. In the future, likely at the next council meeting, you will see resolutions awarding contracts to a number of firms, many of which will come from this list. So it makes it easy just to reference the resolution that indicates what all of the responses were. There will be some firms that we will be putting forward resolutions to award contracts to who are not on this list. And that is because we do have the authority, and we transmitted a memo this weekend explaining all of this to you, to award contracts to certain firms who have not bid on our RFQs as long as they are compliant with all of the pay-to-play laws and have not made any disqualifying political donations. But this is purely a formality and a transparency initiative.
Thank you.
Okay. Items 10.19 through 10.22 were touched on earlier. Item 10.23, Resolution 26-144 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City designating August 27th of each year as Andrew Jerome Washington III Mental Health Awareness Day. Item 10.24, City Resolution 26-145 is a resolution of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City recognizing April 6th to the 10th of 2026 as National Community Development Week. Item 10.25, Resolution 26-146 is a resolution in support of the proposed New Jersey Senate Bill S 3382, which would increase EDA bonding limit for state share of school facility projects of the SDA districts as well as school districts other than the SDA districts.
If I may just say a couple words on this, just so everyone is aware. This is a bill that is in the state Senate right now. It is sponsored by Senate President Teresa Ruiz, and it would put as a ballot question in November whether or not the state could issue up to $10.5 billion worth of additional bonding for construction and repairs of public school facilities. Of these 10.5 billion, 7 billion would be dedicated to SDA districts. There are 31 SDA districts, of which Jersey City is one. I know we all sat through that long meeting the other night with countless parents from PS16, speaking to the overcrowding and the busing and everything that goes along with that. Beyond PS16, schools throughout the city are just very old buildings in various states of disrepair. And the reason why I believe that now is the time to do this is not just because of Jersey City's great need, but because the state has had 9 consecutive credit rating increases, upgrades. So now would be a great time to issue bonds, and we are in a uniquely good financial position to do that at the state level. Not saying that's true at the city level. The state also has not bonded for new school facilities since 2008. So I put this forward. Councilman Gilmore, who represents the ward in which PS16 is located, is a co-sponsor, as well as all the at-large council candidates are also, or council members are co-sponsors as well. So I hope we can pass this. And although it is symbolic towards legislation at the state level, I think it, if the state were to pass this and the voters were to pass this, this could really help Jersey City schools.
Good job, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, items 26 through 29 were touched on earlier. Item 10.30, City Resolution 26-151 is a resolution appointing Audremon Juera to the Women's Advisory Board of the City of Jersey City.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn at 7:30 p.m. made by Council President Pro Tem Gilmore. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Griffin. All in favor of the motion to adjourn at 7:30 p.m. All council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are out of here at 7:30 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone present and everyone
Nay.
watching at home. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great rest of the night. Stay safe.
Hey, longer, it gets cooler longer.
Okay. It's getting hot in here. Let's make Wednesday.